Guys, it's Queen's 70th birthday. What are we gonna do?
It's not the Queen's 70th birthday. It's her Platinum Jubilee.
Well, it's her Platinum Jubilee. We need to think of something.
Oh, I've got an idea. Oh, here we go.
Us on our way. We know you'll leave someday. Hand in our hands. You've helped us with our plans. You made us fly so high. You're the reason why. It's all because of you. Your Majesty. On your jubilee, for 70 years, for the joy and cheers, from the Commonwealth, we all toast your health. You make the sky so blue. This is all for you. Your Majesty, I am the same age as you. And I thought just like you. Under our King George, he'd be so proud of you. We know you love us. Celebrate your love. We have no pretend. Thank you, ma'am. 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 Guys, it's Queen's 70th birthday. What are we gonna do?
It's not the Queen's 70th birthday. It's her Platinum Jubilee.
Well, it's her Platinum Jubilee. We need to think of something.
Oh, I've got an idea. Oh, here we go.
Majesty, I am the same age as you, and I thought just like you. Under our King George, he'd be so proud of you. We know you love us. Celebrate your love. We have no protest that you are the best. Your Majesty, on your
Captain Tom has died.
Have you heard the terrible news about Captain Tom?
Captain Tom has died.
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 Captain Tom's died.
Captain Tom has died.
Captain Tom has died.
Kapitein Tom is dood. Captain Tom has died.
Captain Tom has died.
Captain Tom has died.
Captain Tom has died.
Cabbage bomb has fried. Captain Tom has died.
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 Captain Tom has died. Have you heard the dreadful news coming out of Bedford Hospital? Captain Tom has died.
Captain Tom has died.
Captain Tom.
Have you heard the dreadful news coming out of Bedford Hospital? Captain Tom has died.
Captain Tom
has died.
Captain Tom has died.
Captain Tom has
Captain
died.
Tom has
Captain Tom
Captain Tom
died.
has died.
Captain Tom has died.
Have you heard the terrible news
Captain
about Captain
Tom
Tom?
has died.
I will surely be the job to speak the honour of my life to you, to have had the opportunity to serve the country I love.
All because
Thank you, Your Majesty the Queen. You did
I'm speaking
everything
to you
could.
at what I know is an increasingly challenging time.
And then you fell off that roof.
I have to
What a
complain.
shame.
My
Gutted.
brain is utterly fucked.
Absolutely gutted.
F.
Absolutely fucking embarrassing to end a 70-year reign. Falling off. Thank you very much for summoning up the Welcome Bear Oracle of Truth. Lovely to see some new faces in the chat. I love to see this community come from strength to strength. Is Wogan in line to the throne? No. Wogan is in line to the throne of hell. Along with the Queen now, who, if you haven't heard, sadly has passed away just moments ago after falling off the roof. Why was she on the roof? We don't know. There is a new Sue Gray report being compiled, and when that is published in 2021. Thank you very much for summoning the Welcome Bear, Harry Hardy. Of course, I love to see new faces in chat. I love to see this community going from strength to strength. Yeah, apparently she was doing 60 miles an hour up there. And then a paparazzi blinded her peripherals and she fell on a bit of loose slate. Still feel sorry for Terry's brain getting unfucked and then refucked because the public didn't like him anymore. As I understand it, Terry's brain had the blockage removed. Terry regained his knowledge of Beyblades. But it was like, I mean, I didn't see the end, but I think something's coming out. Something's coming out. We'll find out. We'll find out. F's in the chat. Everyone, of course, of Queen Elizabeth II, who sadly has passed away. I know there'll be many mixed feelings about that, but I think we can all agree it is an unequivocal tragedy and she should not have been up on the roof at that age. And that'll be my last thing I have to say on it. I will not be cajoled or tricked into giving an inflammatory opinion. People have a lot of different opinions on the monarchy. I don't have any. I think there are questions to be asked. Why was she on the roof? Whatever she had to do up there, is there no one who could have handled it? Someone younger, someone more spry. That's all I'm saying. I'm just asking questions. I don't have any opinions on this. Queen falling off the roof, Queen staying alive. I'm easy breezy. I'm just saying some of these things don't add up. And I'm just asking questions. Has it been concerned she went up or down after deceasing? Directly before deceasing, she went down. And after that, she's gone nowhere. The divine spark connecting her body to the Great Spirit, that has been severed. But we don't know whether that was the connection between her vessel and the Eternal. Obviously, she could maintain a divine spark as a spirit form, but unfortunately, we can't test for that. Is Liz now a ghost? Again, we're going beyond the limits of science to know. I can tell you what happened to her body. It went down and it fell into some privet hedge, and then some of the Crowmaster's crows got at her. She may have survived for a bit, but then the crows started pecking in at when she fell out. One of her eyes fell out. The shock. Obviously, she's very old, so a lot of things are loose. A lot of things aren't the same size as they always were, and so when she fell, one of her eyes came out. And one of the crows went in the gap between her eyeball, which is now loose, and the socket. And they say if the crow hadn't have gone in there, she would have been fine. She basically landed unharmed. But the crow basically just went all the way in there and started pulling out her brain. And they say, you know, even at a much younger age, you can't survive that. If your brain's been pulled through your eye socket, there's not a lot you can do. And actually, and this is embarrassing, I think this is embarrassing for the NHS and maybe the medical discipline. It's such an unprecedented problem, there isn't a procedure. There's nothing they can do. You can't just push it back through the eye. And so they thought it would be kinder to let her bleed out. And I think they were right. I think that is kinder. They said the public won't respect her if her brain's coming out of her eye. And the problem is that the crow got lodged as well. The crow got lodged in there, so even if she pulled through, the crow would still be connected. You see, the crow, even if they put the eye back in, they'd have to get, the crow would still have to go in with it, you know? Is the crow okay? The crow's fine. The crow is absolutely fine. The crow is been booked for a tour. The crow's going to be treated very well. They're going to take the crow around the museums. That crow's part of history now, you see. That crow's got a job for life. Job guarantee. That crow is on UBI. Was the crow from the Tower of London? Yes, but they take the crows round. The crows go on the tours with the tourists, you see. The Queen would be complete with the crow in her skull as well, because they could detach it, right? So the optic nerve is like, well, if you see it, it's like a lot of like licorice bootlaces, but very thin, very, very thin licorice bootlaces, and a crow's beak. It's like an arrowhead, so you can put the beak in anywhere, but you can't always take it out. And once those things are enmeshed, that's it. The eye and the crow, you can't separate them. They're connected. Like they're so well connected that they believe that during her dying moments, the crow could see through her eye. But of course, it was loose, so it was just looking at the grass, you know. She couldn't control the movement of the eye. The eye was probably just looking at a woodlouse or something. There's no way of knowing. And I'm sorry I'm the one who has to share this bad news. Switching from noise fight to this. What could the crow see? Probably just a woodlouse. They believe, I mean, you can get all this from ITV, but what they believe the crow was looking at was a woodlouse. But then the Queen died, and so the eye became inoperable. But not necessarily. The crow could also access the Queen's entire memory. Full and comprehensive memory. Yeah. They believe. Again, this is of course unprecedented, but they believe if the crow could look through the eye, they give an 80% chance that the crow had complete unfettered access to the Queen's entire life with a near perfect recall. So obviously that crow, they're very worried it will get loose, so that crow's under surveillance. Yes, unfortunately we don't know how to extract that information from a crow, because the problem is, right, it's turned into a crow memory. And so even though, you know, the technology is still pretty rudimentary, it's still pretty early stages for extracting human memory, but there is virtually nothing on extracting crow memories. So some people are suggesting that the crow gets frozen until a time when we have the technology to unfreeze a crow without the crow dying, you know, because the crow would get freezer burn is the big problem. And at such a time when crow memories can be extracted. But a lot of people just worried the crow's going to fly away, you know. That crow flies away, that's it. That's the end. We'll never know what happened. Freeze the crow, yeah. Or microwave the crow, yeah. Make the crow hotter. Yeah, sure. Sure, why not? Anyway, I feel like a lot of people here are grilling the messenger. I don't know. I just read what's on the front page of all the papers, you know. We'd know the route the crow took. Yes, yeah. We'd also have the crow's memories, I suppose. Yeah, I don't think they're interesting up until the crow kills the Queen. Again, you know, I think if the Queen hadn't fallen off the roof as well, maybe the crow probably, you know, well, her eye would be in her head, so the crow couldn't get in. That's my thinking. But I'm trying to stick things just to what I've read, what I know is confirmed. I don't want to be spreading speculation on here. Some people I've seen already are saying the Queen's fine and alive. You know, so already we've got like the conspiracy rabble saying it's a hoax. Queen falling off the roof is a false flag, is what I'm seeing a lot. So, but you know, nothing can happen these days without being, you know, refracted through the culture war. Do we know the Crow didn't push her? There were no witnesses on the roof. We still don't know why she was up there. We still, there's no way of knowing. If the Queen hadn't fallen, the Crow might be incidental. Yeah, again, there's nothing tying the Crow to any malice. The open question is, why was she on the roof? The Crow loved this country, it sacrificed its eye. To my knowledge, there's no evidence the Crow loved this country. Again, I don't know much about the Crow or the Crow's background, but my belief is if you were to ask the Crow, do you love this country? The Crow wouldn't know what's going on. The Crow's more interested in, you know, the Crow just sees things as like threat or food or, you know, something to perch on. I don't think it would understand what you want if you said, do you love Britain? Can the Queen now fly? In as much as she is now like an ethereal spirit. And I think they can fly. Can the body of the Queen fly? No, the body of the Queen can't even move. The body of the Queen is not inhabited by a mind or a soul anymore. The body of the Queen has been rendered flesh and bone. There's nothing else going on. Crows are very intelligent. You know, I think when people say that, they mean relative to a bird, right? They don't mean like that crow could, I don't know, what does a smart person do? Write a book about a metal. Right, use copper wire to build a hospital or something. They're intelligent for an animal. How intelligent are queens? Right now, we don't know. Again, why was she on the roof? So that kind of points to a queen that's not really firing on all cylinders. Could the Queen recognize herself in the mirror? Probably not. Basic tools, there's no need for her to learn because she was, you know, she would use her tool master. If she wanted to have her appearance adjusted, she would use her appearance adjuster. If she wanted to know what she looked like, she would commission a portrait. Oh yeah, Buzz Josie, that's not true anymore. Let me just don't send this to the BBC. I'm already recording it. They're actually, the BBC are watching now. The BBC are using me. Everything I'm saying is verbatim going out on the ticker. You know the little ticker at the bottom of the news? Editcom, this stream, Her Royal Highness Queen Elizabeth II has died. She fell off the roof. And I want to know, well, just let's just say, and I, for one, have questions. I actually don't know what I'm doing this evening. I don't know how long this opening gambit of talking about the Queen's death is going to go on for. Like I say, it's breaking. I don't have that many details. I've given you quite a lot of information. I don't know how much more I have to give on this. Isn't Elizabeth I of Britain and second of England? I don't know. As someone who's in England, I think I can just say the second. I don't even really 100% know which countries the Commonwealth refers to. No Zomnight. Oh, disconnected Dan. I decided, given that it's a bank holiday Friday, and people probably... Thank you very much for sending me. So welcome back, Josie Russell. I love seeing new faces in the chat, and I adore seeing this community go from strength to strength. Welcome. We are a friendly bunch. Please say hello if you feel so inclined. So I was going to be doing a zombie thing, which I mentioned earlier in the day, but I decided because it's the bank holiday weekend, it's bank holiday Friday, a lot of people are going to be having a PIMS. A lot of people are going to be turning a sausage cylinder on a grill outdoors. A lot of people are going to be drinking Stella Artois while sat on patio furniture. And I thought, I am not going to do this zombie thing this week. I'll do it next week with a little bit more of a run-up. But what I can do is tell you a little bit about what it is I'm planning so that you could become excited And maybe that excitement will sustain you until next Friday. Or I could tell you nothing. And in a way, that's sort of exciting as well. Just to not know anything and have no details. But know that something will happen at some point. Next week, Zombie Liz? Maybe that would be disrespectful. Now, I've tried my very best to stay on the fence with this. And I feel like incorporating Queen Elizabeth into a zombie themed stream. You know, I've always been trying to get the royalists in the chat. And I'd hoped by sharing some of the news about the Queen, I'd get some way towards that. I think showing her zombified, showing her receive a zombie bite so soon after she died, I think that's going to get people's backs up. We could do it with the rest of the royal family. Who was the old one that died? Prince. Who's the old guy? Who's the old guy that's dead? Tall. The Queen used to kiss him. The guy the Queen was kissing, and he was really racist. Yeah, Philip, we can do. Diana's on the slate. I would say Andrew is on the slate for being a bad guy, but I just don't want to think about him. I don't want to pretend that him or Pedo Island even exists, really. Not when I'm trying to chill out. Well, I heard they never kissed until the day he died. And he was absolutely fine, then she kissed him and then he died. And, well, this is hearsay, but I heard he was cursed. And the only thing that would ever lift the curse was true love's kiss. But he never was sure. And then Queen Elizabeth said, look, if it's not me, who's your true love? You know, what's the fucking point? That's verbatim. And then she kissed him. And she said, have you cured of the curse? And then he said, I'm having a heart attack and dying. But we don't know if that was a coincidence. You know, he could have been due a heart attack at that time. Hello, Phil. Thank you for triggering the welcome bear. I love seeing new faces in the chat, and I adore seeing this community go from strength to strength. Can Andrew be morally dead if he's never morally alive? Well, he's spiritually bereft. And I think he is, yeah, I guess morally fucked. I think he is. Do you know, evil is a tough word because it presumes that people are completely free agents and they've chosen to do the worst thing out of some weird... I don't know what evil's supposed to describe, but he was raised within the royal family, which feels like he was primed to be evil in some way. And he has been as evil as he can be. Oh, have you just heard the news, Phil? I'm really sorry. Yeah, she just fell off the roof. And then a crow... okay, so she fell off the roof. Her eye popped out. And then a crow went in. And it was the crow that finished her off. But I've got questions about why she was on the roof. Everyone... Do you know, Twitter and TikTok, Bebo, LinkedIn, they're all going, a crow went in her eye and killed her. Guys, that's the media. The media wants you to think about this crow. Why was she on the roof? She was 112 years old. Do you know what I mean? Step back, see what the bigger picture is. Do we even know there was a crow? Right? This crow is nothing. Why was she on the roof, hey? Think. Use your minds for once. I'm not watching TikTok. I'm not watching BBC News. I'm not on Twitter. I'm looking at Reddit. They're saying roof. What kind of roof was on Buckingham Palace? What kind of roof was on the Balmoral? What kind of roof do they have on their car? What did she fall off the roof of? People are saying she was on the roof of one of those American candy shops on Oxford Street. And if that's true, that crow was probably just trying to get I don't know the name of any. Probably just trying to get, what's the name of an American sweet? What's the name? Hang on. Okay, Google. What's the name of an American sweet? She's probably just trying to get a milk dud out of her eye socket. Probably. Or, try that again. Take that again. Probably just trying to get a Hershey's cookie and cream out of her eye socket. Probably just trying to get a Nerds. Do you say a Nerds? Probably just trying to get a Reese's Piece. Probably trying to get a Nerds or a Reese's Piece out of her eye. Probably just trying to get an M&M's out. What are the plural? What's going on with the plurals on these sweets? How she fell into a hedge on Oxford Street. She fell around the back staff exit. Sorry, probable as though you got to get up a lot earlier in the day to get me. She fell off the back exit where the patio is, where the staff is. Okay, and there's a few pines down there and a bit of hedging. It's patio. They got a bit of decking. They got a balcony, and then the far end of the balcony is hedged in. Okay. Okay. Any more questions? You can put in the chat all you want. I'm not budging. I'm not budging. I know what I've seen. I know the news. You have a question, what is this stream? What do you want it to be? I don't know. It is the most honest answer I have. I don't know. I went live without an idea. And I wrote that in the I don't know. I had an idea for tonight, but then I shelved it for next week. And now I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm nevertheless live. I'm nevertheless here. Have I got any jokes? Yeah, have you heard about one about the Queen that fell off the roof? How are you holding up? Oh, let me just clarify something. I haven't been emotionally affected at all. I don't know the royal family. I don't have very strong feelings. To be honest, and this is quite embarrassing, the whole thing about having a royal family is news to me. I live in the north of England, and it just doesn't come up, you know. With this Jubilee stuff, I remember seeing the it's all purple, and I was like, what's this for? And I say it's for the Queen, and I was thinking like, the band, or you know, so it's been a big few weeks for me, and now the Queen's dead, so I think, why did I learn all of that then? That's the end of having a monarchy. No more monarchy now. I spent that whole time going all the way back, learning about King Arthur and Charles I and the Tudors. I was thinking, wow, this is like a whole big thing. This is a huge thing. It's like when I was a kid, I tried to memorize all the Pokemon, and it's like I'm doing all of that again, but it's just like these guys. And now she's dead, and there's no more kings and queens. So I'm thinking, that's like a fortnight I wasted just so. America's covering the Platinum Jubilee. Well, gutted for them. What's the best answer to this? You know how there are these things like that, like a Jubilee or like a national celebration, and because it's so big, it kind of gets hyped up. It's like the MCU, where like even people who know it's not good just get hyped up when there's a big enough event, like a black hole that sucks people in. So even people like, wow, I don't support the royal family, but I don't want to be. It's like Christmas. It's like Christmas, where to not like Christmas, even though it's like commercialized, or let's say it's a Christian holiday and you're not religious. There's loads of reasons. You just don't like Christmas. But to not like Christmas out loud is Scrooge-like. It is unvirtuous. It is freakish. And so your average centrist boomer 100% would lean into it. more or less regardless of their ideals otherwise, unless they are like a hardline lefty anti-monarchist, in which case they'll Scrooge it up and be treated like a Scrooge for it. Does that make sense? It's quite a big answer, but I think that gives you the gist. To be honest, right, as someone who lives in England and therefore at the epicenter, I'm always baffled by unionists who live outside of the epicenter, because to me that's the most bananas behaviour. Because if you, at least in the north of England is hardly the core of the empire. The empire only benefits a small few, and there's always been an impoverished working class within the British Isles. But the people who are like a little bit outside of it and are standing it from like standing the regime that just pilfered their country, those are the people that baffle me the most. But I suppose from outside, it's the people inside here who are like cockneys dressed in Union flags from head to toe, talking about how they love the Queen because the Queen never says or does anything, and that creates a mystique. Just this one old woman living in a gilded palace of gold who isn't really ever allowed to do or say anything which will help add detail to her image, so she can just be a ghost who exists to be inhaled by the mad. That can seem odd, and I understand that. However, as much as it's taken me a while to get my head around it, time to unlearn. She's dead. And with that in mind, what do people want to do? What do we want to do? We can sharp left turn to anything else. I was thinking I could probably got a big day wandering around and getting sunburnt tomorrow. So I kind of fancy relaxed. My first idea was to work on this zombie stream, and I'll tell you what it is I'm thinking about doing for that next Friday. So there's this game project Zomboid. Terrible name, but it's a pretty decent zombie survival game, and you can run a multiplayer with it. And we did one, but I felt like it was a little bit unfocused, and it was hard to work out how to make it focus and interesting as a viewer. And I think the way to do that, and I'm not going to give you a lot of details, so I want to work on the concept a bit more, is that I and we in chat act as an AI, act as like a director that will influence the events of a group of survivors who are community members who will be in game. Community members are not allowed to watch the stream or listen to the stream, and the stream will determine events that happen to them. I think that could be fun. I want to give it more of a concept and a framing, but I think there's an idea at the core of that. And let's do it next Friday when there are more people around. It's weird to me how British media seem to claim any human behaviour as typically British without contextualising whether it's a positive or negative thing. Well, of course, the Queen has a great sense of personal pride, which is a quintessentially British trait. The quintessentially British trope goes into overdrive when it comes to the Queen, because the Queen, of course, is nothing. She is just a person stood still on a balcony. People go, yep, that's Britishness. She's just like all of us, standing still with an empty head. You love McDonald's fries? Hello, I love McDonald's fries. I'm not a big fan of McDonald's fries at all. Taco Bell fries are pretty good. KFC fries are some of the worst in the world. And McDonald's to me is somewhere in the middle. They're not very substantial, and they're a little bit oversalted, I think. Big into McDonald's fries? No. Not good chips. BK fries rule the roost. Okay, let's go. Who's got the best fries? Okay. Macadaco. Burger Kurger. KFC. Taco B. Who else do you want to throw in? Who else we got? Who's another big hitter? Who's another big hitter for having fries? We got one more space in the poll. Wimpy. Whimper. Okay, here you go. This is what you've always wanted. There's your poll. He's got the best fries. The chippy? That's not fries. It's not fries. Can't compete in the fry challenge. And obviously the chippy would win. It just makes the whole thing pointless, I think. Weatherspoons? No, it's Chippy. That's Chippy again. Five Guys, come on. It's like we've got the Queen in the chat. Red Coyote, please. A conscientious objector. You're not saying these are the best chips in the world. It's the best chips out of these 5 options. And chips and fries are different. Can't come in here and talk about chips like they're interchangeable with fries. In fact, if Summer is still around... Summer, am I right in that in Dutch, a chip is a friet and a little fry is a frietje? And so there's like a... There's a distinction there as well. I don't think the Queen's ever had a Wimpy. I don't think the Queen can name a single council estate. So does this poll? So this poll overlay. I'm trying to work out how it works. Will this update when the? I thought it's supposed to show the times as well. Doesn't the Queen own a subway? Hang on, let's check this out. Does the Queen own a subway? I know she's a landlord. She owns a lot of fucking stuff. Oh, well, there's a lot talking about the Elizabeth line. Some are describing it as a subway line. Yeah, they're describing it as a subway line, CBS. There we go. Burger Koga's got the best fries. Don't at me. Oh, it's a London joke. I see. Well, no, because the Queen owns a lot of private businesses and private property. I think she legitimate. You're laughing at me because I've not understood the pun, and that's fine. But I think actually she might legitimately own a subway. Hang on. List of private property the Queen owned by the royal estate. Shows all the swans. Does she actually? Does the Queen own all the swans? Not really. Not really. The answer to that is not really. Sort of. Yeah, she owns about. Hang on. Yeah, she owns urban property to a total value of 9.1 billion. She's gonna own a Subway sandwich, right? There's no way. Every 5th business is a Subway sandwich. One of these is gonna be. How do we find this out? 'Cause it's not gonna be on Company's House, is it? Thank you for your self-censorship, Josie Russell. That has been noted and appreciated. List of all the properties. And I've already searched that, haven't I? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can find that out. Hello, Mesh Blair, and thank you very much for the follow. The Crown Estates portfolio. Let's have a look. Crown Estates portfolio. Oh, it's confusing because there is also a real estate business called the Crown Estate. And it's not. Why have you called yourself the Crown Estate? Unless it is the Crown Estate. Hang on, is the Crown Estate the Crown Estate? Hang on. Hang on. Come with me. Hang on. Come with me. We're going big now. It's a big time. It's a big time in my life. Come with me. Put on some background music or something. Just so we're all. Yeah, just some background noise. Okay, come with me, come with me. This is the portfolio of the Crown Estate. Now, I was thinking, that's a stupid name for a property estate because you'll get confused for the Queen. Maybe it is the Queen. Because if it is the Queen, it owns Next and Costa and shopping centres and all kinds of stuff. Properties. When the Queen dies, all the swans should go into a lottery and you might get a swan in the post. I don't think that's swear on the people. Swear? I don't think that's swear on the people or the swans. It means a little more Anna Sugar for the Queen's evicted people. The Queen, the Queen's estate evicted a couple because he had an electric car or something. They like, they've done all kinds of stuff. The Crown Estate. Yeah, it's the same thing. The Crown Estate is a collection of lands and holdings in the United Kingdom belonging to the British monarch as a corporation sole, making it the sovereign's public estate, which is neither government property nor part of the monarch's private estate. Right, it's part of a corporation sole. Let's look at that. Within most constitutional monarchies, notably the Commonwealth realms, the Crown is a non-statutory corporation sole. What does that mean? Although conceptually speaking, the office and office holder retain dual capacities in that they may act both as a corporate capacity as monarch and in the individual capacity as a private person. They are inseparably fused in law. There is no legal distinction between the office and the individual who holds it. The Crown State legally acts as a person when it enters into a contract and possesses property. As a person, the monarch may hold properties privately, distinct from the properties she possesses. Corporately, and may act as a monarch separate from personal acts. Yeah, fine. That's not important. For example, Queen Elizabeth II, as a natural person, holds several separate offices, such as the Queen of the United Kingdom, Queen of Canada. Yeah. I don't care about this. Anyway, this is the Queen. This actually is what the Queen owns, right? So this is the portfolio of the. So everything here is owned by the Queen. The Queen owns Foss Park in Leicester, Rushton Lakes, Silverlink Shopping Park in North Tyneside, Crown Point Shopping Park in Leeds, Banbury Gateway Shopping Park, Victoria Road. Now, obviously it doesn't mean she owns this McDonald's. The woman who got evicted by the Queen follows you on TikTok. MK1 Shopping and Leisure Park in Milton Keynes, Coliseum Shopping Park. And it doesn't mean she owns the shops there, because they'll just pay rent to use the space. Aintree Shopping Park. I want to know if she owns any parks by me. Nah, this is it for what the Queen owns in shopping parks. Crown Gate Shopping Centre in Worcester. That's one for you. I should not dox anyone. That's one for anyone here who lives near Worcester. The Gate in Newgate Street, Newcastle upon Tyne. Princess Hay. Yeah, it's not Princess Shay, is it? It's Princess Hay. This. Yeah, she owns Crown Gate. Westgate Shopping Centre in Oxford. And she owns Foss Park South. Hey. These all seem to be retail and shopping parks. View all properties. Is that it? Gallagher Shopping Park in Cheltenham. Does this place only deal with shopping centres? Does the Queen only own... Hang on. The Crown Estate portfolio. Let's keep going. Do we want to do this? Is this interesting? Is this good? Ooh. Asset map. Here's the full asset map of the Queen. Okay. Windsor Great Park. Yeah, she owns an office there. We can go anywhere. This is everything the Queen owns. This is everything the Queen owns. Hang on. Anything outside the British Isles? Anything just bizarrely somewhere else in the world? Let's not rule that out. Nah, it's all in the UK. Fair enough. Yes, so let's find out what this offshore stuff is. What does she own here? I mean, it's going to be drilling, right? London Array. Oh, that is Wind energy. London Array 1. Wind. London Array 1. Wind. Yeah, it is. It's some of these guys. She owns that. Yeah, your boss was the queen. Ultimately, if she owned the wind farm. What's this? Gunfleet Sands. These are going to be wind farms. Wind, Great Gabbard, Galloper. You're an offshore geophysicist. Well, thank you very much for popping in. Have you ever worked on the Greater Gabbard? Galloper? The London Array 1, we've already covered that. She owns Essex. Wow, this is a bit of a busman's holiday for you. Sorry, I've chosen the one topic that makes you feel like you're at work. What is this? Can I get any more information on this, please? Zoom to see individual sites? Well, I have, but you're just saying you own Essex. What do you mean? Essex Coastal. Essex Coastal. What is that? Yeah, of course. How can it What does this refer to? Oh, okay. I'm happy to take this diversion. PD, tell me more. Did me and your girlfriend like just meet in passing, say hello, or do we know each other, or? Well, you give me more details when you have it. Oh, here we go. Managing agents: Morley Riches and Ablewhite. Her name is May, and briefly dated Sam Nicoresti. May? May? It must have been very brief. Maybe I'm just really pig ignorant. Was her name always May? Did she go by something different? Morley Riches and Ablewhite. The sector is coastal. It's always been May. It feels mad that I don't remember this person. May. Any other distinguishing features? Morley Riches and Ablewhite. Okay, and what are your properties? Hang on, I'll go via Google. Google's always bad. I'm just looking for a thing called Essex or something. I got no idea. I think there's just something in Essex, probably one of these. Oh yeah, an estimated year as well, like an estimated region. I guess it must have been when Sam was living up in Sheffield, which would make it like 2014 or before. Is there a nature reserve there in Essex? Well, the thing is, it is managed by Morley Riches and Ablewhite, so it would be under their properties. So, assuming I haven't made some mistaken logic, it's got to be one of these things. So I just think it's just one of these generic properties, and it's just not listed very well. But she could just own the beach. She could just own Essex for all I know. It's not very clear. Let's keep looking at things we can get more info on. Suffolk. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this means. East Coast region, marine minerals. Sure. Let's go into places where we live. Okay, so maybe Hull is the first place to check. Sunk Island. This is proper. So anyone who's lived in Hull, the geography of Hull is, when you've got Hull has like, a lot of poverty in it, a lot of estates. And over here is where I know, because I lived over here. In fact, I lived here. I lived around here. I wandered around here. Like I was in a band with a guy from here who played drums. I think I urinated in a pond in here. You know, this is where I spent my teenage years. And you know, there's a lot of just posh little towns around here, and then you've just got poor towns, and it's kind of a bit random which is which. But then you go to this side of Hull, and it's just mad. It just turns into like Elden Ring. It's just bizarre stuff over here. And Sunk Island, I associate with that. Sunk Island. Let's have a see what Sunk Island looks like. Yeah, it's just like empty area is what I think of it as. Who's the boss of Sunk Island? Probably an old ship builder who hits you with an anchor. Are any of the pins moving? I'll zoom in on one, it'll be one of you guys. It's a shame we're not getting a lot of details on this. Sunk Island, rural. So if I click on that... Yeah, okay, so if I click on this, there's a managing... And there's an agent. Ah, here we go. This gives more information on what the green pins mean. We manage a rural portfolio of land and property comprised of tenanted working farms and strategic land. She owns land. That's why there's no business. She just owns land. And that makes sense, right? She's the monarch. One of the things she's primarily going to own is just the floor. I've put a down payment on the goddamn floor. I don't think the ownership is transferred to the crow, but the crow should remember all our passwords, so it could if the crow can get a computer. None of these are Scotland. We're getting there. We're getting there. I just want to go past the northern cities that we're all... In fact, just shout out a place if you want me to check a place. Nottingham, Victoria Retail Park, Bingham, that's land. You see green, that just means there's land. Milton Keynes, what you got in Birmingham? In Birmingham you've got Atwood House. Fine, boring. That would be like office space. Maybe this is more boring than I expected. It's just she owns a lot of land. West Anglesey Demonstration Zone. Not much in Manchester, but she owns a bit of Tabley. She owns a bit of Delamere, the minerals specifically. She owns Flintshire. She owns Cheshire. Yeah, you want Northern Ireland? Let's do Leeds. Crown Point Shopping Park. Nottinghamshire. Coastal? Sure. Sure. Yorkshire? Roughborough? Yeah, I think this is just quite boring actually. Strandford Lough. These are just water. She owns just a bit of Northern Ireland. I like how with other places it gives you the county or whatever. It goes, well, she owns this. She owns a bit of Derwent. She owns a bit of Roughborough. Over here it's just like, yeah, she owns a bit of Northern Ireland. Oh, not much though. She owns a bit of the water, and she owns a bit of stuff near Island McGee, north of Ballystrudder. Yeah, not many pins up here. Not much in Scotland either. This is boring. I've lost faith in this as an activity. There's a bit of Portland Bill. Yeah, I'm bored of this. That's what the Queen owns. Does she own any of the clubs in Newcastle now? She just owns shopping centres. She just owns bits of land and shopping centres. New shopping centre, she owns a Silverlink shopping park and the Gate. Spin dash the Queen's head off. I would love Sonic to do a revolution. Can you imagine that? There's nothing you can do. You can't kettle Sonic the Hedgehog. Any roofing companies? You've seen what I've seen. It's retail, it's energy, it's offshore energy, and it's land. Look at Mickey Marley's roundabout. Yeah, sure. Why am I doing it? Because it's interesting. Mickey Marley. Michael Mickey Marley was a street entertainer from Belfast, Northern Ireland, born in the markets area of Belfast, but spending most of his life in Grosvenor Road in the Falls area of West Belfast. Marley was a common sight in Belfast city centre over 40 years. His local fame was enhanced by recording the song Mickey Marley's Roundabout, which was a popular children's request on BBC Radio Ulster. But what was the significance of him in the Roundabout? Oh, unless the roundabout was the thing he towed with him. The roundabout's not an actual roundabout. Okay, am I listening to a song? I'm just worried about copyright. Yeah, I can't. It's owned by Orchard Music. Orchard Music, they buy up stuff that isn't technically like legally copyrighted, but they auto DMCA stuff, and it's not worth it. Sorry, I can't play music I don't have some rights to. Yes, so Orchard Music. Oh, what happened? They tagged music that I had permission from the writer and composer to use, because they like buy up. I don't know how it works, but they sort of fabricate claims to music and then DMCA everything so that they can sell it. Look at the Roundabout. Sure. Mickey Marley's Roundabout. If this shows respect to the Queen, then I have to do it. So what did he just sold rides on this, right? This was a travelling amusement. Yeah, fair enough. It's equivalent to just going around and being an ice cream man, right? Is it a crownabout? Oh, it's a crownabout for our purposes, because everything's Queen themed. Understood. Can we have a pronunciation poll on the word scene? What do you mean? Why? Oh, I see. Because I'd say sin. I've just seen a shark. When I was in the sea, I saw a shark. I've said the wrong sentence. Once I'd set the sentence up, I realised I couldn't say sin. I'd have to say saw. Sword? Moldy, I'm not representing that in the poll. That's not dialect. That's idiosyncrasy. I saw Sean. I can't have that kind of attitude. I will fill in that blank with murder. What do we want to do now? Not that it's your job to work it out. I can work out my own things. I can do whatever I like. To be honest, I just want to pursue relaxation. I could put on a game. I could put on a video of some kind. Kenshi. I'm up for Kenshi. No new St. Jimmy updates. No. Watch bird footage on YouTube. I don't want to be that relaxed. Being that relaxed will make me stressed. Kenshi could be fun. I've got loads of things in my Steam library. We'll come back to... I want to be continuously... Yeah, I want to be making music now and then. I have a lot of music that is my music. Yeah, should we go back to Kenshi? 2 requests and 1 question. Feels like a glowing review. What is Kenshi? There is a genre of video game, maybe not a genre, but a type of video game that I'm beginning to think is my favourite. It's where it's got a solo dev who worked for 10 years. The game is very ugly and somewhat broken, but it has a level of detail that it does not need to have. and it has all kinds of weird stuff. Do I ken it, as in do I know and understand it? Not quite. But I'm getting there. Sounds like Zomboid, exactly. That's also why I like Zomboid. Yeah. On the upside, it's incredibly hard. It's ludicrously hard, but I did turn a corner last time. I now have 2 people rather than 1. When I tried to play it before, I died 3 times and achieved very little. But now we have 2 people and probably less likely to die. A music playlist down. Hello bird.exe. It is great to see a new face in the chat. I love seeing this community go from strength to strength. Did I play more 1 Hour, 1 Life? No, I didn't. So my May was such a big time and energy black hole that everything I was doing before May stopped. Do you know, like if you're reading a book or playing a game or watching a TV series and then you can't like do it for like 2 or 3 weeks, you just kind of stop and you don't really come back to it. I'm terrible for that kind of thing. There's also 1 Hour, 1 Life if people want that. No, 1 Hour, 1 Life is stressful. I will come back to it. But I think this, because I can pause it, is inherently less taxing. I'm having like what's the word? I wouldn't call it like a holiday, but I'm definitely having like maybe a month or a month and a half where I'm trying not to over encumber myself. But specifically, I want to give focus back to the streams and making stuff, because live work really takes up all of my head. Carmel summer, exactly. So, overview of this game. It's set in a horrible... Oh yeah, to make it go on the screen properly. Oh yeah, and I should change all the stream information to reflect. To be honest, I love playing these little games because actually nice people come in through the tags. Because when you play these games with these like dedicated communities, they're just, I think people are excited to see anyone new playing them at all. So this is a game. It's a horrible little desert world, and no, I'm not saying you're awful. I'm saying that with a lot of game tags, especially ones that are quite big games, you just get a little randoms turn up, and definitely, like for instance, the Dark Souls tags brought in weirdos. Whereas I think these like overwrought indie games bring in nice people who are helpful. You're set to just chatting? Even now? Maybe that update hasn't reached you, Blue Coconut Monkey, but I have pushed one. It is a bit Fallout-like. It's not set in a post-apocalyptic world. Or is it? Actually, I don't know. It's got a little bit of that kind of Baldur's Gate style, can pause and think about what you're doing. One of the things I really like is that there's no quest, there's no story. You're not the chosen one. You're not important. It's very deadly, and also not a lot of stuff even happens. I am not doing the Fringe this year, no. I didn't think I'd have a show in time, and I was right. I still don't have a show in time. I don't even have my orb completed yet. Imagine being as a weirdo with this community. Yeah, I guess I shouldn't, right? Because I use weirdo as a term of endearment. I don't know what I mean. Just someone who gives me weird vibes. Like, I mean, we did get that person who was like a reptile furry and talked about Vore anytime they could. You know, that's not ideal. No, it wasn't. Weirdo, I will try to use the term endearment. I like weirdos. Sometimes also you might hear me referring to you guys as freaks, which is harsher, but I think it's funnier. It's a funnier, high impact word. Scalies, yeah, maybe. Can reptiles be furry? Well, birds definitely can. I've definitely seen it used to refer to birds. One of my issues is that cup is a lot faster than ball. Okay, so this is the starter town for whoever I am. What is Vore? PD. I never knew you were just very innocent. I never knew you were just a gentle little creature. Well, in very short, very, very short, Vore is a very strange... I'm going to call it a fetish rather than a kink, because I don't think you can do it. I don't think it can actually be done. It is where you're specifically sexually attracted to the idea of being consumed in full by someone, just being eaten whole, and sometimes still surviving. You've been eaten, but you're still in there, you know, going, oh, I've been eaten, fuck. It's really interesting. No, it's interesting is not right, because I don't actually take an interest in it. But it's odd to think about. Odd to think about getting off on something that just physically can't happen. You know, like if I could only get off, the only thing that would get me off is the idea that I was just stretched really long. Just stretched really, really, really long. So I'm like a mile long. I think that's the only thing that get me off. Like, I'm not asexual. I have sexual desire, but it's just for my body to be grabbed on both ends, like on a rack, and pulled really long. So I'm like the length of a street. You know, that's what I want. I'm horny for that. It's like, well, you know, good luck. Good luck finding that. You know, Sean, I love you and I'd do that for you, but you'd die. You'd split open. You know, you wouldn't really stretch. At some point, you know, you'll break it into two parts and all your organs will come out in the middle. And I think, I don't want that. I'm not horny for that. I'm horny for stretching. What's the name of that kink? Well, I don't know. I've just coined it. What do you think it should be called? Racking off. Come on, honey. Rack me off. Sorry? Yeah, I just want you to stretch my body out without killing me. Spaghettification. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. On the way to a black hole, yeah. Yeah, on my way into a black hole, I'd come. Yeah. I mean, not really. I don't have that. Theoretically. I don't want coming away thinking I've revealed something about myself. You know, I'm talking abstractly. I've not revealed anything about myself, and I never will, thank you. You've learnt nothing about me, and you're not gonna. Armstronging. Do you know you can still get Stretch Armstrong? I feel like the Stretch Armstrong never got big. No one's learnt anything. I can't stress this enough. None of you have learnt anything about me. I've kept my cards very close to my chest. One thing I will say about Kenshi is it's very boring. I don't know what I'm doing. That I'd say is the downside of a Kenshi stream. I played it for 2 hours last time, and I spent everything just trying to mine copper so I had money to buy stuff. Soon, I'll have money to buy stuff, but I also might not know what to do after that. Going to a black hole does stretch you quite a bit. That is the only way to get stretched, I suppose. But I mean, I would say, you know, even if you were really into it, I don't know, right? If you're really into something, and the only way to experience it is to die, you would at least want to die that way. The person being experienced by a black hole wouldn't experience the stretching. Right, because we're talking about dilation in space-time, right? So what would be seen from a third-party perspective as someone stretching out really long would just be experienced by them as their body, as they understand it, moving into the black hole, right? Because they can't experience the dilation in space-time because you can only perceive the world around you from a single point. Well, I can only perceive things from around here. Right? Oh yeah, Josie, what is the difference? Because I think I was probably using those terms quite clumsily. Maybe this is not the place. Well, I'll let Josie explain the distinction, but then we'll move quickly on to, you know, things within the terms of service. Things that absolutely will not have any effect on my channel's ability to continue. Would night hole be easier? What, you want to pop in the night hole now? I can set it up. The night hole is open if you want to pop in. My cursor is out of the game screen, which is why it's just spinning. Hello.
Hello. Am I hearable?
Let me check with everyone else. Is Josie hearable? I think you are.
Cool. Oh yes, I'm seeing yeses now. Cool. Lovely. So, this is the way I've learnt the difference. So, a kink is when you have an alternative like form of attraction or sexual desire, and that is on top of having standard forms of sexual desire. So, from typical things that the standard like body parts and people in that standard way, and a fetish is when the alternative form of sexual desire and attraction is the only thing that turns you on.
Right. So, is it as simple as a kink is when you like it in addition to stuff that would be considered vanilla or whatever, and a fetish is like the only thing? So, if I said I like having sex, but also I like being stretched out to the length of a road.
Yes.
That's a kink.
That's a kink.
And if I say I will only have sex if I've been stretched to the length of a road, that's a fetish.
It's in the sense of like, yeah, you can only have sex if you have the kind of foreplay of the stretching beforehand.
Yeah, without the thing I like present, the sex just isn't doing anything for me.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Basically. And that's why, like, in some cases, I guess the context on my end is I've been kind of developed a bit of a special interest in kink stuff recently, just out of curiosity. And I've been watching a lot of information and a lot of documentaries about it. And I guess what was the point I was trying to make? What were we talking about just beforehand? I can't remember now.
Well, we were talking about what if you had a sexual desire for being stretched out really long, like your entire body stretched out. But I don't know why, actually.
Well, I guess in some ways you could say it's the fantasy rather than, like, because if you're not turned on by anything vanilla, then you're gonna need something beyond that. Like that's the brain's way of trying to, I guess, fill in the blanks, I guess. And also, there's been like some studies saying that it could be linked to past experiences. So sometimes it could be linked to trauma. So, like in a traumatic situation, your body kind of your mind reacts to that and processes that by somehow getting turned on by the fear, the scary thing that you have experienced. And then in other cases, it could just be like something you watched or experienced as a kid, and your brain just decides to process it in that way. And as you get older, it becomes a sexualized thing.
And there's no telling. Well, I've remembered why we're talking about stretching the body, because I was trying to make an analogy to show how Vore seems very strange to me, because I don't think you can physically be eaten whole by another person and be inside them alive. I don't think you are going to get that happening to you.
Yeah.
But the thing about Vore, just in terms of your explanation there of where these forms of attraction might come to, is I don't think anyone has experienced that in their childhood, whether traumatic or just benign.
It could also be like fantasy stuff. So there's a lot of stuff we'd watch in our generation as kids that have specific, like a lot of cartoons would have stuff of like, I remember this specific cartoon, I can't remember what it's called now, but it was like about a pill and an amoeba, and they're going through the body. Like,
Osmosis
it's like,
Jones.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, I'm a big Osmosis Jones fan.
Yeah, and I bet some people, like, if they had the initial attraction, like, I think
you're saying Osmosis Jones is responsible for Vore.
It could be.
It could be. It's just a funny sentence. Can't rule it out.
But there's I'm trying to remember who was who, like, because there was the germ guy was kind of like drawn as a bit of a hot character, wasn't he? So if you found him hot, then your brain kind of could process as the whole thing being hot of, oh, something is being in the body as being hot.
I understand where you're coming from. I think the depictions of Vore don't just when we're on Osmosis Jones. Osmosis Jones was Lawrence Fishburne, Chris Rock, David Hyde Pierce, William Shatner, Ron Howard, Brandy Norwood, Kid Rock. What a big cast for this borderline forgotten film, I would say. The thing to me is that Vore, again, this is the perception of someone who is not only completely outside of the loop on it, but also, I would say, persistently refusing to find out more out of a sense of discomfort. But it does feel like Vore is something that has spread and propagated quite recently. Or I'm wrong, and there's always been loads of people into Vore, and they're only now expressing it, and Vore has been around us since the dawn of history. But it feels like Vore has appeared and propagated within the last 10 years. And so I wonder how much it's about childhood experience, because it just anecdotally seems like people are exposed to the concept and are getting into it as an adult.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know as much about Vore in of itself in terms of the history, but I think you're. But I think you're pretty accurate in the sense that, like, it's got to be a more recent thing.
But you never know, right? It could be it was a primal desire that's always been with people, but now we have a language for it. Now people can discuss it. finally people can be out as Vore, and that's something to be celebrated.
I'm just laughing at the phrase "out as Vore."
Well, you come out as anything, you know. Anything you don't want to reveal, and then you reveal it.
I like Pete and Lisa's Hisvorian. That's very good.
Can't believe. I do remember when I mentioned Vore, I said, well, just very quickly, PD, here's a definition. And now we've gone deep into like kink philosophy. My friend Ben Swithin, who was you might know through Birthday Breadman, or you might know through the Laird von MacGyver in More Vision 2021. They have an interest in this that's very interesting to me. They've said they are writing on it and maybe want to release like a short book on it. And my understanding, and I may be wrong, and this might not be the full concept of it, but they seem to be drawing a parallel between, like, you know how, you know, gimps who live in gimp suits and are like live in the cage under the stairs, and they live these kind of the ideal of being a gimp is like not compatible really with being a person, because a person needs to look after their body in ways that the gimp suit and the cage don't really allow. Like, how do you go to the toilet and stuff? It has parallels with examples of extreme religious asceticism, like stylites, like monks and stuff who caved themselves, who bricked themselves into walls to die, or stylites who like just lived at the top of just pillars and just lived up there, and the idea that complete emptiness would bring them closer to some idealized connection with God. They seem to be interested in the idea that maybe gimps are a modern day incarnation of that. And I think that's a very interesting concept to pursue.
I think
anchorites,
I think the process is similar in that it's like you could say it's like sensory deprivation for the sense of reaching a higher sensation, the sense of which for some people would be religious, so the sense of connection to God, or the gimp sense, it would be more of a mental or sexual enhancement.
Yeah, I'm fully with you. Yeah, I think it's well, I just think it's interesting to think about. I don't know what I think on that subject. It sounds like a very out there comparison to make. Not that I think it's wrong in any way. It just means I've got no intuitions on it. Yes, so it probably makes for bad conversation in that respect. So I don't really know what I think. And I think also I'm not religious and I'm not a gimp, so I almost feel like I don't really have the relevant experiences. You know, it's my job to stay in my lane and just listen. Just listen to the voices. Listen to the anchorites, listen to the gimps, educate myself. I think sometimes it's good to do a stream where I have nothing in mind.
Yeah.
Never thought it would end up here.
I think there's a lot of way with kink conversations. You never realise you end up here. And yet you're here.
And yet you're here. You're welcome to say more about your kink discoveries. I don't know exactly where we should draw that TOS line.
For me to decide, isn't it? I guess.
Shall I
But,
check quickly what the TOS says? And I should
Yeah,
probably be someone who knows what the TOS says, like the back of my hand. So maybe it's just a good idea to check it, and then we'll decide what our line is. Okay, Twitch terms of service, content. Okay, so user content. Twitch allows you to distribute. Oh, I think we should do. Twitch allows you to distribute streaming live and pre-recorded audiovisual works. Yes, sure. License to Twitch. Endorsement, political activity, prohibited conduct. Here we go. Not to commit a tort. What's a tort?
A tort?
An act of omission that gives rise to injury or harm to another and amounts to a civil wrong which courts could impose a liability. Oh boy, yeah, I don't want to commit a tort. Not me. Hang on, let me put Cup and Ball to bed because I feel like the TOS thing is long enough to make them tired. I don't think we're going to learn much about Kenshi until the morning anyway. Okay. Ball is asleep. Let me just put Cup to bed. Okay, they're asleep. They're probably safe. We're sleeping at the top of the pub. Okay. Don't distribute any content that is inaccurate.
Oh.
Okay. I never would. Sorry to hear about the Queen, though.
How would you know?
Yeah, don't worry. We're clear on that front. Impersonate any person or entity. Never would. Send junk mail or spam to users of the Twitch service. Never would. Harvest or collect email addresses. I never would. Defame, harass, abuse, threaten or defraud. I never would. Delete, remove, circumvent, disable or damage security features of Twitch. I never would. Reverse engineer, decompile, disassemble. Hang on, let's just Control F the word sex. Otherwise, we're going to go through loads of stuff. It doesn't appear. Okay, so I'll have to read it again. Well, hang on. There must be something. I'm going to search nipple. Nudity.
We can talk about them, can't we?
I know. I'm just trying to Control F something that will take me there. Oh, hang on. There's something about adult. Adult? What? There must be something about adult content. I know people are banned for that stuff because everyone does. Because there's all those like horny streamers. I thought people would get punished for this. I don't know what the name is. Control F Vore. That's not going to come up. I did search nipple. Sex, adult.
What
Hang
about
on. Twitch, terms of service, and then I'm going to just search nipple in Google. Update to our nudity and attire. Nudity and sexual context. Okay, it might not be the terms of service then. Okay. Sexual violence and exploitation. Obviously not going to be at risk. Sexually explicit content. Sexually suggestive content. And then there's nudity and attire. So nudity and attire, not going to come up. Yeah, we're not going to display any sex, and we're not going to advertise sex, so that's not happening. Camera focused on sexual areas, no. No, this is not covered this at all. We're allowed to discuss sex, it seems. To our heart's content.
Showing it. Cool.
As long as we're not advertising it, we're not like, you know.
I mean, who knows? I could mention a kink and somebody would be like, "Oh, maybe I want to try that.
No, I mean like solicitation. Obviously, you could say, I've heard of this kink and it seems like a right laugh. I think you're allowed to say that.
Right.
But if someone says, oh, that sounds good, you can't be like, yes, that'll be £20. That's when we break the TOS. But actually, the TOS is there's nothing much to say about.
No.
Nothing much to say about this. So I think go right ahead.
Oh, I'll start by answering a question that I believe it was Oracle of Truth asked earlier while you were sorting all that out, and it was, is anything beyond standard genital sensation a kink, like anything learnt versus innate? And I was watching a documentary last night that was about, I can't remember the name. A lot of these kinks have these like they have their kind of slangy sort of names, and there are also kinks that have the proper like Greek like official name. And this one was about, this might be a bit gross to you, especially Sean, so just to warn you, but it is a kink for what's kind of like insect play. So it's like people getting the sensation of insects crawling on their skin.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Jambud is saying, what is going on? It's been a bit of a, what's the word? Sort of a Rube Goldberg thing. But essentially, PD asked what Vore is. And I said, this is the potted definition of Vore. But it has always seemed strange to me that people are attracted to a thing that physically can't happen.
Formicophilia, that's the name, yes. So the what I was trying to say in answer to that question was that the person that they interviewed in this documentary was talking about how there are aspects of kink and BDSM in particular that have become more mainstream now. So you talk about like thing like spanking in particular, or tying up. That's a lot more of a normal conversation with sex and a bit more common than it used to be, compared with formicophilia, which is extremely niche and obviously freaks people out when they hear it. So
what was the thing? What was the second thing?
Formicophilia, which is the Greek name for the insect crawling kink.
Yeah, I don't like insect kink. I don't know. Something about bugs on skin. I don't know. Bad to me.
Yeah, formic like ants. So it's like, yeah, because it talks about the specific sensation of the crawling, and biting as well in some cases. People like I guess you could kind of because there's kind of considered a bit of an overlap between, or I guess you could say the center bit of the Venn diagram is a lot bigger than expected for neurodivergent and kinky people, and that's because of the like. So it's like the non-standard processing of sensations and relationships and stuff like that can make neurodivergent people more likely to be kinky, because they need that extra stimulus to help them get into the mood, basically. And as well with like very weird relationships with things, especially like in a more special interest sort of manner, or just that kind of like weird attachment, I guess as well, like yeah, childhood attachment and psychological stuff that can cause the connections between, or like the brain to kind of wire itself in such a way that makes it into a sexual thing, when for most people it's very normal and even like mundane.
That's interesting. Jamber's just said this is why being on like
And
neurodivergence TikTok
which is
punches.
TikTok, yeah.
I've
Yeah,
already,
get that.
I haven't, I'm not a big TikTok user, but in my small
I'm not
time
on
there,
TikTok. I have no clue.
well, in my small time on there, it has slingshot me. Not completely, but having looked up stuff that relates to like neuro stuff, definitely strange. People suddenly talking about their sex life very frankly in a way that feels very whiplash
Yes.
against
Yeah.
any other content.
Mm.
It is interesting.
It is interesting.
And is there like the thing I always get? The reason we ended up talking about this is because I think the idea of being exclusively sexually attracted to something that physically is
Can't
impossible
happen. Yeah.
feels like a very sad situation to end up in.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's a bit of a tough one because it's kind of like I said, in a way, the biggest part of why Vore I guess exists and can be, turned into sexual content is because of imagination. And now that technology has gone so much better and art has become so much more technological as well, like you get people who do like VR stuff to get the like visual experience of Vore.
This stuff spooks me. Now we're heading
Yeah.
into I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but the interplay between I don't know what it is. I think the interplay between new technologies, especially VR, and sex makes me feel uncomfortable. Just because
Yeah.
I'm scared of any new horizons now that I'm in my 30s, and I think I think any new technology unleashed on society will end up being bad. Also, I just feel this very, I don't know. I'm just thinking about this 17-year-old going through VR so they can think that there's flies all over them, and I'm like, this is it. This is sex now. And maybe that's fine, I don't want to be. I feel like I'm now a conservative shoutcaster, and I don't want to be just because I don't want to think about someone logging on to the fly zone to get off. Now I'm the older generation, not letting the young ones have their fun because they can't, go into the grasshopper simulator. I'm very
difficult.
conflicted. I'm having a hard time. I don't know what to believe or say.
It's difficult because on one hand, you could say it's good because it gives people the opportunity to have those sexual fantasies explored, and in a I guess you could say safe environment, but that obviously depends on the industry that's making it. That needs to be safe first before that's properly safe.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things where it's a bit like it's difficult because if sometimes like a conversation with specifically fetishes over kinks is if it's a problem that you can't be turned on by anything but this, then you should seek help. But obviously that's not easy for various reasons, like financially, emotionally. That's
just in terms of whatever the discourse or discourses are surrounding this. Is it acceptable to say the fact that you are only turned on by something physically impossible? Can you say, therefore, you should seek help? Or is that not kink shaming?
They tend to say, what I've heard people say, they tend to say, only if it's a problem to you.
Sure.
If it's actually emotionally affecting your relationships with, particularly if it's actually affecting your sexual relationships with other people. that's when it's a problem, and that's
spending so
when you
much
just,
money on
yes.
spiders and stuff.
Well, it's funny you talk about money, because there is financial subordination. That's a big thing. So people who spend money, like literally give money to DOMs as a turn on, and often without any real interaction from like there's no, they'll just say, you're the DOM, you feel comfortable with me giving you money, cool, I'll give you all this money. And they'll be like, I think the documentary I watched about this the other day, the guy said he had spent over $100,000 to this one woman as a
That
spending.
feels like an arrangement that could be beneficial for all parties.
It's an interesting one, because
But obviously, I mean, I'm being very careful not to talk about, we've had a very good convo that doesn't need to touch upon too much stuff that I think would require a trigger warning. But obviously, I think the financial domination, subordination stuff, I think probably a thorough examination of that would end up getting into the tricky territory of the people who are consenting with us because they're poor, and I just think steer clear.
I mean, a lot of these people who are into it, typical story is that they are rich, like they are managers in a very big corporation. This is obviously, most stories I've heard of this are from America, so they're going to be like living in New York, getting a lot of money, being a manager for some, I don't know, some tech job or whatever. So they've got the money to spend. But of course, if you're poorer, that's going to be a difficult kink to have. But,
yes.
And so,
I've got a kink where I'm rich.
But rich first, then I spend the money.
Yeah. Need to become a millionaire just to get off.
Yeah. But you get these DOMs, these money DOMs, who do say, I will give a limit, because they'll say that like the subordinate will want to give the DOM access to the bank account and basically just take whenever they want. But they have to, because it's still a business being a DOM. If you're a professional one, it's a business, so you've got to make sure that there's still the ethics around it as well. And even if the other person is consenting to you having their money and accessing it whenever, you've still got to be ethical in your way of using that money. So you've got to have that cap.
That makes sense. Yeah, sure. You can set up guidelines that make, so that all parties have a way of stating their boundaries and having them respected.
Because a lot of people, I think people just assume that in terms of like, if you're talking about a sub-DOM relationship, that the DOM doesn't have boundaries, but they do, because they're still a person. And even if they're the one kind of controlling and giving control to the situation, then, they've still got a life and a history and their own boundaries to a scene, and they're still part of the scene and the relationship as well.
That makes sense. What's the maddest one you've come across? What's just the one that made you go, that's mad?
It's not mad in a sense that I didn't expect it. It just really freaks me out.
Okay, if anything needs a trigger warning, you should give one. Just.
It's right. It's not freaks me out in like it's just an ick. It just really grosses me out.
Sure, like me and the insects. I feel like if you're into the insects crawling on you, you'd want the spiders, right? Or a millipede. You want more legs.
Yeah, you want the millipede, and
I wouldn't mind a millipede going up my back though. I wouldn't be turned on, but I think it would feel nice.
they're also quite into worms because they're quite smooth and they wriggle.
I'm back to being troubled again.
Apologies. The one that's really grossed me out is scat play.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think everyone's heard of that and have chosen not to spend too much time thinking about it.
Yeah. It's just, But there are, like, I'll try and find out the list of...
Do you know, I had a book on this. I had just a book on...
Really?
I can't remember. Well, I didn't... There was an era where I was just given a lot of books. Just to be perfectly clear.
Resilience, there we go. There's one that I find quite interesting. It says here there's dacrophilia, which is the being aroused by crying.
Your own? Or...
I think it can be both.
That sounds troubling. There's just some of these things where it's like, yeah, you could get turned on by that, but just crying means someone else is sad. I don't know, it just seems inherently troubling.
But the thing is with the standard dynamic of like scenes for say BDSM sort of stuff is that there is consent involved, and there's often a conversation at the beginning before a scene called negotiation. So that's everybody talking about their hard limits and the thing that they really want to do. Just basically, literally a conversation of what do you want to happen, what don't you want to happen. And if sometimes I've heard stories of people saying that like the kind of rush of adrenaline and the emotion and the elation that they get from doing their kink just brings them at such a high that they start crying. And that's kind of like because sometimes the with kinky stuff, the plane that people want to get to won't always be a sexual high. It'll just be an emotional high as well. That's why some people do their fetishes as more of like a lifestyle thing rather than just a sexual thing. So
it's just a thing that randomly just gives them pleasure.
Yes.
And as long as it can be, benign in as much as it is not causing obvious harm to anyone else, and anyone else who's involved is consenting and aware of what's going on. I think, why not? Do whatever you like.
Exactly.
But not in VR. Just meet in a clubhouse or something. Do it in a travel lodge.
Travel lodge. Try in a travel lodge.
Just do it in an Airbnb. Obviously let the host know. You can put it in your opening message. Is it okay if I bring all these spiders? Oh, I wanted to ask, Oracle of Truth mentioned giving therapy to people just to sort them out with spider fear. I've never heard of that idea before. And
yeah, like hypnotherapy and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, I got offered some hypnotherapy, but I didn't take it because I didn't really know what... I just thought I don't have many vices. How many times have we died so far? In this session, not that many. But mainly because I've been mining, just constantly mining copper to sell on. But we're also talking about arachnophobia and kink and fetish culture from an outsider's view. Well, my view is an outsider's view. I'm the one learning. What's basic behaviour therapy? How would I...
I guess it'd be like CBT, wouldn't it? Or exposure therapy.
I can't do that one. That's the opposite of what I want.
That's kind of the point of it, though. You're supposed to like slowly get yourself...
Well, if I wanted just to see a bunch of spiders, I'd just live my normal life. I see them anyway, that's why I'm scared. Would you actually? Do you bring in a spider and show it to someone as part of their? Just trying to work out if I could do this, but it sounds like it's exactly the one thing I don't want to do.
Well, it's supposed to be the control. It's a controlled environment. It's that you have the space to be able to be like, no, I don't want this. And yeah, like Jambat said, it starts with imagining. You're really going from like the tiniest domino to the biggest thing at the end.
What's the smallest domino?
Just thinking of the thing you're scared of.
Thinking about it on my own.
Well, on your own, and then explaining to a therapist how you feel when you think about it.
Scared. Can we, Oracle? Can we do a session now? Would it help me at all to do a session via Twitch? If it's completely useless, then maybe we won't bother.
I mean, don't expect to be cured by the end of tonight.
Not cured, but if I'm like 10% cured, you know. And I definitely have found that my arachnophobia correlates with my general stress levels. And at times where I wasn't so stressed, I feel like I got most of the way towards getting over it. But then it just comes back during times when I feel stressed again. And that's not to say like it's always a direct correlation, but I have noticed it gets worse or better in a very loose way.
Okay.
In my overall vibe.
That's interesting.
We can if you consent and know what you're consenting to. Yeah, absolutely. Jonesy, do you reckon there's a room for one more in the night hall?
Yeah, of course.
I don't really even know what I'm trying to accomplish in this game, so there's no rush on that part. I think if I get 6,000 of these credits, I can try and join the Thieves Guild. But until that time, Cup and Ball, which now feel like their names feel like they've taken on a different meaning now that we've talked about kink. Previously, it was like a cup and ball game, but just reading it now after having that conversation, things feel a little bit different. But they can't afford to do anything, and I don't know how to find anything to do. 10k for Thieves, well, F that, I'm not. It would take me an hour to get that much money now. But maybe I'll get them to wander the countryside. Maybe we can head down to the spiders area. We found an area that got spiders in it. Maybe that'll be some exposure therapy.
I was gonna say, are you okay with that?
Well, the spiders were quite low poly. It's interesting what spiders I can handle and what I can't handle.
With the most intense being real spiders.
But even then, there's certain spiders that set it off, and there's certain spiders that set it off less. Do you know there was a spider in the shower today? But what I do is I take my glasses off to go in the shower.
Okay.
And so I know it's there, and occasionally I'd like look at where it was, and the blur would reassure me at least it's where I thought it was. But just having my glasses off and not being able to see it gets me a long way.
Oh really? So even knowing it's there, just as long as you can't see it, it's fine or better.
I don't know. I don't know the rules.
The brain's a complex thing.
I have to be sufficiently distracted. Like if there's a spider crawling on my bed, obviously I can't sleep in that bed. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But if I go away and really, really do my best to forget, then there's a chance I can go back to it.
Okay. See, it's interesting because I've only really had one big phobia, and that's vomit. And so it's interesting to think of.
That'll make vomiting so much worse for you.
Exactly. I hate it. And so the idea of being scared by something I can like see and it can move around is interesting. I'm not used to that.
I'm just going to ask Canty Luden question. Canty, as a new player, and I don't know what I'm doing, what should I be doing? Is there someone that can send me on a quest? Is there something I could get up to? I'm very new and I don't know what this is. I don't know what... I've got 2 guys. What can they be getting on with? I'm going down to Squin. Is that a good idea? Ooh, is that Oracle?
Yes, hello.
Oh, you're coming through loud and clear.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so... Oh, hang on. I've muted you. Or have you muted me?
I haven't muted you. You may have muted me. Can you hear this?
Yes, I can hear it. Sorry.
There's some slavers coming up to me in game. I think they probably won't try and enslave me. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm safe. Sorry, please continue.
No, it's fine. Yeah, so I used to work as a clinical psychologist, and I treated some people for like basic specific phobias. So that's like phobias that are kind of assumed to have been learned in someone's history. They're fairly straightforward and unlikely to be linked to kind of complex trauma.
Okay, so sometimes people can get scared of something, and it's not because of any trauma. They're just scared of it.
Well, I mean, it all depends on kind of your model, how you understand the world and how you understand psychology and things. I mean, if somebody's scared of something, then clearly they are traumatized. I mean, that's kind of that's part of what trauma is.
I can remember when I started being scared of spiders. I remember the exact event.
Well,
is that useful for you to know as my new therapist?
I need to be really clear. I am not your new therapist.
That's not what I heard. We'll be doing the night hole every night until I'm sorted. Because before I was scared of them, I loved them. They were my special interest.
Okay.
And I
wow.
Yeah. I love spiders. They're my favourite thing in the world. And I would... Oh, hang on. I'm being rushed. Oh, I'm being rushed by bandits. Hang on. I think Cup is a lot faster than Ball, so Ball's probably going to get robbed. Hang on, I think I can outrun them. So I used to love spiders, and I used to archive where they all were. I love just chucking little ants and stuff into the nests and just seeing what's going to come out. It was my way of interacting with my environment. But then, just a big one fell on my head, went on my face, and that was it. Turned.
Oh, wow.
Love, hate.
I mean, that's not an entirely irrational response, is it? Like a big thing fell on my face and I was scared of it.
Exactly.
And you weren't betrayed. I mean, spiders weren't doing any non-spidery things there.
The spider was acting. Yeah, the spider never agreed to anything, and it was at all times acting within its nature. You're absolutely right.
It's like when people describe icy weather as treacherous. You're like, well, they never promised you anything, did they? I mean,
the ice
the roads
owes
didn't
you
say.
Nothing.
Yeah, the ice owes you absolutely nothing. Do you want me to tell you about what kind of basic behavior therapy for a specific phobia would look like?
Yeah, and then just do it. and then just do it to completion. Is it something you can self-administer? Because I know, like, I've done a little bit of CBT to myself, and I wouldn't say I gave myself an entire CBT course, but I got a lot of benefits from understanding it and going through a few, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I've had some training in CBT, but my main training was in a kind of CBT adjacent therapy called ACT, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, which, although it's kind of CBT adjacent, has kind of like fundamentally different way to understand cognition and behavior and how humans are. And I would say it's a much more kind of humanistic way of understanding what humans are like. I'm not massively keen on the fact that CBT assumes that some people's thoughts are wrong or broken in some ways.
Fully with you on the criticisms of CBT. I think there are some things it's good for when you've identified that something truly is down to your patterns of thinking and isn't necessarily, I think sometimes you can get a long way by realizing that you have really committed to a habit of certain ways of thinking that aren't in your best interests, and I think CBT is a quick way of dealing with that without going too deep.
Yeah. I mean, CBT's got loads of evidence. So, like, something about CBT is effective. That's definitely, like, absolutely true. The big difference in the thing that I did in CBT is that in CBT, there's the idea of... Basically, it comes down to philosophy. CBT is a kind of mechanistic philosophy. Like, it sees the kind of human being as like a machine where you can have bad thoughts and you take those out and replace them with good thoughts. This is really simplistic, but essentially it's the root metaphor where the difference happens. So with ACT, it's a contextualistic philosophy. So it doesn't see thoughts as being things that could be replaced and changed. It sees thoughts as being a behavior, and behavior is always contextual. You can't remove it from the context. So, like, if you were on days when I've felt really down, if I'm lying in bed and I'm thinking, I'm not good enough, then that's maybe not a helpful or useful thought at that point. But if I'm like, I don't know, weight training or something like that, or practicing for some kind of competition, and I'm thinking I'm not good enough, well, in that context, that thought's quite useful, because I'm kind of assessing where I am in terms of doing something I want to do. Like, I want to lift this heavy thing, or I'm not sure why I don't do lifting heavy things. I'm not sure that's the metaphor I've gone for, but the difference is a philosophical difference. But in terms of basic behavior therapy, it doesn't really matter because they're exactly the same. CBT just does basic behavior therapy for phobias, so does ACT. And it's basically, they used to think that it was to do with habituation. So the idea was that if you keep experiencing the fear, then eventually the fear kind of goes away because you kind of habituate to it. More recent evidence suggests that that's not really true, that it's kind of like you just get better at being afraid. Like, being afraid isn't a thing that
so you're
limits you anymore.
Afraid, but you are very good at being afraid.
Yeah, it kind of is that. It's like
you
can be afraid and still do life.
Yeah, sure.
But the
your
good thing
fear
about that
tolerance
is that means
has grown.
It's not even tolerance, because kind of the way you would define fear is that you avoid it. Like, avoidance and fear are kind of the same thing. We define things we avoid as fearful, and we define being afraid as avoiding something. I know there's bodily sensations as well, but that's kind of the basis of it. So if you stop avoiding something, are you afraid of it? Like, if you're like, oh, I'm really afraid of drinking tea while sitting drinking tea, someone will be like, no, you're not. You're doing it. Like, yeah, but I'm really afraid. You're like, you do it every day. So it's kind of, the definition of fear becomes a bit woolly at that point. But the main thing that I'm kind of avoiding saying too much about is that you essentially do have to build up towards moving closer to the thing that you're afraid of. There's not really any way around that. That's why I don't really like the idea of, like, some of the NLP hypnosis stuff kind of promises to kind of cure someone of a phobia without ever having them go near the thing they're afraid of, which I don't really understand how that's possible.
So what are they doing when they claim? Because I've been offered hypnotherapy. It never occurred to me I could use it for fears. I always just associate it with smoking or, having too many Bakewells or something.
Well, I think Josie was saying earlier on, like, you kind of start off with a kind of hierarchy, and that would be individual to you, of like what things are the least fearsome for you about spiders, and at the very top would be the most fearsome thing, which I guess is a big spider landing on your face. And it's kind of like, if you can build up like as gradated a kind of hierarchy as possible between those 2 points, and then gradually move up them, and there's really strong evidence that that's extremely effective. So you will at some point get to the end of that hierarchy, which would mean, if you're able to kind of do that without feeling afraid, or do that willingly, then you can say that you've in some way conquered your fear, or you're no longer afraid of spiders. Like without saying too much, when I've done it with some people, there was one person where when I started therapy with them, I asked them to draw a spider on a whiteboard, and they drew like a circle, and then like a kind of like a dog leg. It's not a dog, a spider leg coming out, like a kind of an L shape coming out of it, like a really the most basic kind of shape you can imagine. It almost looked like a musical note, and that was it. They burst into tears at that point. Like they couldn't. That was more than they could cope with. Like a single leg on a round circle was so fearful that they weren't able to carry on.
Oh wow,
But
that's pretty
within,
extreme.
like,
I can look at a line
it's really
coming off
extreme,
in a circle.
And
I will.
Yeah, but it was what they were engaging at the time was, in order to start drawing a spider, you have to start thinking about a spider. And so like that was
Yes,
what was the
okay.
spider in their mind was much worse than any real spider. But after like 4 or 5 sessions, that person was touching a
Drawing
spider, like
two
pushing the
legs.
spider around on the floor, and would have a spider in their hand. Like,
Hang
it
on,
was
after how many
pretty
sessions?
rapid.
Sorry, hang on. How long?
Like 4 or 5,
And how long's the session?
45 minutes.
I'm guessing there'd be work in between the sessions as well.
That's
like
mad
personal
what you're
work.
saying. That's insane.
Well, I mean, not really.
You've gone
the
mad.
person wasn't really.
You need therapy.
I worked with somebody once who had a needle phobia, and within 10 minutes they weren't afraid of needles afterwards.
Yeah.
I think it's just
What?
if somebody's going to therapy, like if somebody's already made the decision that they're like, I'm going to do something about this, and they've had to make the effort to like speak to somebody and make an appointment, and
Yeah, they're basically cured.
well, they've already made a big kind of step towards facing
They've
their
done
fear.
most of
You know,
it,
they kind of
Did you kind of say
yeah,
that
and
they've
both
kind
of
of...
the people I worked with had big motivations as well for kind of engaging that, which I can't really say, but there was reasons why they've been afraid of these things all their lives, but there was a point at which they were like, right, I have to do something about this right now.
I mean, I'm
Sorry,
not going to
just-
push you for it, but I'm really interested at like what happened in their life where they're like, and now I need to be able to be near spiders.
I don't think it gives anything away to say that the person I worked with who had a needle phobia, I was at the time working in the diabetes centre.
Sure, and that makes a
Oh,
lot of sense.
yeah.
It's the spiders one that I think is more fun.
For a lot
to
of
think
people, for a lot of people, I mean, you can spend a lot of your life avoiding spiders. Like they're not
about. Oh yeah, defo.
not necessarily a part of everyday life, are they?
Definitely,
Whereas
like
if you-
I think a lot about houses I live in. Like
Okay.
where I look at a property, I think of it in terms of how likely are spiders to come into this bedroom. Because old
my sisters are
places,
afraid of spiders.
like newer buildings, are less likely to get spiders in them because they're newer. They haven't got these little holes and stuff made by animals, spider roots.
Yeah, you're hyper vigilant. That's what they kind of describe. It's
That's
part of
me.
the process of being a phobic is that.
How
like,
do you feel? I
if
noticed
walk
that
into your room-
mosquito the first time it was there. I'm always looking into the corners of the room.
Like there's certain video games that I think encourage that. Like if I walk into a room with my sister, she will notice a spider, like a tiny spider in the corner of the room, and I won't have noticed it because she's hyper vigilant. But essentially, if you can kind of write out a big long kind of as many gradations as possible, while there's still a difference between each individual element, like a kind of hierarchical ladder of fear.
And so, what does that look like then? Like,
so the bottom one might be, because it's obviously different for each person, but the bottom one for you might be just imagining a spider. Happy,
for how
nice
long?
spider.
Like, okay, I can picture a spider in my mind's eye, and it's, I could even think it's skittering around. You know, it's moving erratically, which I don't like because it means it could come near me.
That's really common. That's the kind of movement thing and the skitteriness of it is what people always mention.
Yeah. So how long
but
should
it
I
might
think
be for
about
you,
that
like-
on a session?
Well, it depends. Like if you don't find that in any way fearful, then there's not much point in
Oh
doing
no,
that.
I don't like
The
it.
first-
I just think I can tolerate
okay.
it. It would not be pleasant for me to do that.
This
And
makes you
even-
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The old school thing would have been about you would in some way monitor someone's fear. So you can use one of those. Do you know what a galvanic skin response meter is? Have you seen those?
No.
ESR. So it's like a little thing they often put on your palm of your hand. It measures the electroconductance in your hand, which changes as you get sweaty. So it's a kind of proxy for fear. They're awful things. I remember playing with it in undergraduate psychology, and like as soon as you put it on, like it starts to go up because there's a kind of feedback loop where you can hear the noise. It kind of makes a kind of whining noise, and as it starts to whine, you realise that it's doing that because you're becoming afraid, and then because you're afraid, you become more afraid. It gives you good anxiety and panic attacks. Actually,
that sounds horrible. It sounds like me trying to take my blood pressure.
It's horrible. Yeah, it's exactly like taking your blood pressure. Everyone's blood pressure goes up when you take your blood pressure.
Yeah, this was my problem. But then when it went up, I'd get really stressed out because I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to have a heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what the process that happens in like having a panic attack. There's more to it, but that's essentially what's happening. But you can just measure it by saying like having a kind of little piece of paper with 1 to 10 written on it, and every few seconds mark a line on the piece of paper saying I'm at a 1, I'm at a 3, I'm at a 5. And so like traditionally what they would have done would be you would be exposed to the feared thing, whatever that is, whether it's a picture or your own thought, and then wait with that thought while not doing anything to try and like reduce the fear, and wait until it goes down to like 1 or 0, and then at that point step up to the next step, and again stay with that until it drops down.
Could you do the whole thing in? If you knew all of this, could you do it all in one sitting?
I mean, you could, but the thing is, what I was taught when I was, and this wasn't based on the most recent evidence, although the majority of CBT therapists would still do it like this. People would talk about 30 minutes would be how long it would take for someone's fear to subside. So you could do it in one big session, but
thinking about a spider for half an hour.
Yes.
That's like a TV show.
Watch a spider documentary.
Oh, that I think that's a step above thinking about it. If I think about it, I'm in control of what I see.
But I think the reason why people don't do it like for themselves, like they would have a therapist or whatever, is because there's a kind of motivational aspect as well. Like you need to have something external that helps you to be bothered with it. Like, why would you do something that you find aversive? Like the whole definition of something aversive is that you don't want to do it.
Yeah,
so there has to be something beyond.
So what you're saying is this needs to be a series of streams.
Exactly.
You're saying if I do the spider stream once a week, in a few months, I can let a spider crawl on my face. That is what you're saying.
I think you're already talking about having a spider crawl on your face. It's pretty impressive.
I didn't like saying it.
The people that I think I worked with 3 or 4 different spider folks. I'm not sure why I had so many people. I think my supervisor realised that I was able to do that, and so gave me spider folks. But
you began pigeonholed as the spiders guy.
The spider guy, yeah. Well, the phobia guy. Anyway, I would get them to bring in, because the spiders that. So for some of them, they were very specific spiders. They were like, one person was like, they're the spiders that are in my shed.
Right.
Yeah, spiders that are in your shed.
Not even the species, just those 3 spiders.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, shed spiders. And they would describe them to me as being these like, oh, they're really, really big and they're much darker than normal. And I'd be like, yeah. Like my supervisor was like, yeah, this is what happens in the mind of someone who's afraid of spiders. So I was like, yeah, this person's got like normal spiders and they're seeing them as, and they brought them in and they were massive. They were really big and dark. And I was like, oh no, these are real. These are really big spiders.
Yeah, I was there thinking you'd lost it, but actually, I'm scared of these.
Well, I was genuinely a bit like, I'm a bit unnerved about these, but I think that's a good thing. Like, if I'm asking somebody to be uncomfortable, then it's the very, very least I can do is to also be uncomfortable and to be willing to be uncomfortable. The evidence all suggests that the main kind of crux of all of this stuff is willingness to have an aversive experience. So one of the whole bases of acceptance and commitment therapy is that experiential avoidance, so avoiding your own experience, whether that's like psychological or physiological or whatever, is bad. Not necessarily
Avoiding
universally,
your
because
own
again, everything's
experience.
contextual. Yeah, like, so if you feel anxious and you do something to avoid that anxiety, then that usually leads to bad outcomes. Like, a basic example would be, I felt quite anxious, so I just had 16 pints of beer. Then I didn't feel anxious anymore. You know, you can see that most of the things we do to
I
kind
felt
of
scared,
change
so I went
our
to
own...
sleep.
Yeah, or you know, whatever that anxiety disorders, depression, they're all kind of predicated on avoidance of something. So encouraging a kind of acceptance rather than avoidance, that kind of flip, that kind of move from acceptance to from avoidance to acceptance, seems to be the core of most of these things. So I'm just reading John Budd's comment. Just needing to justify fears make it worse, like you end up thinking they're really big because you need them to accept your fear. That's really interesting. There's the thing in ACT, which I can't really know. It's got a Latin name. It's used. It's basically, it doesn't matter because it's just given a name. But the idea of it is, it's Latin for something like a walking corpse, and the idea is that you have to stay broken in some way. You have to stay upset, or in some ways you have to kind of be punishing yourself, because otherwise there's no evidence that the bad thing that happened to you happened. So say if somebody wrongs you and you are really hurt by that, and then you don't want to give up that hurt, because in some ways then you're saying that either that bad thing didn't happen, or that it's okay that that bad thing happened.
Right, you invalidate your own emotions by getting over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So but you know, who does that help for you to be a kind of walking corpse? You know, who does that help for you to be a kind of a symbol of your own trauma? You know, it's is it worth it? You know,
that's interesting.
Yes, it is.
I think I'm getting a therapy session from this as well.
We're all going to come out. What's everyone going to start doing aversion therapy for after this?
There's so much stuff.
I'm genuinely considering whether I should do. If I was to do spider sessions on myself, what do you think? Half an hour a week? What's a reasonable time frame to self-program some in?
I think probably more often than that, but it would probably work half an hour a week. It's just learning is a kind of continuous process. We don't stop learning.
I could do half an hour just before. Well, maybe not before breakfast. When's good in relation to meal times? Before
I think you'd be better doing like 5 minutes every day rather than half an hour once a week.
Oh, I thought you were saying half an hour is how long it takes for the fear to subside. That's
kind of the old school way of thinking about how exposure therapy works. The kind of most recent evidence suggests that's not really how it works. Like they found that when they kind of started looking at some physiological measures of fear, and they found that people who had gone through therapy and were now like touching spiders, for example, they actually weren't showing any fewer symptoms of fear than people who weren't doing it. And I should say that these people were consensually, like completely, deliberately choosing to touch spiders. This wasn't being forced on them. This wasn't like any kind of non-consensual thing that was happening to them. But they were reporting that they were fine. They were happy to do it. That they were okay. But they still had some of the symptoms of anxiety. So the kind of more recent analysis of all that stuff is that the relationship with fear changes. So it's not necessarily that all the things that comprise fear, whether that's like physiological stuff like your heart racing, your hands getting sweaty, your thoughts racing, or various thoughts about I'm going to die, or I can't cope with this, or this is terrible, any of those things, all of that stuff as a whole is what we call anxiety. And those things, or some of those things, might still be there, but it's almost like rather than being right up into your face, you've kind of pushed them back a little bit. So they haven't gone away, but your relationship with them has changed. And usually it's to do with acceptance. It's like, you're like, well, these feelings are here. But also, I choose to hang out with this little eight-legged guy.
Maybe Jambird's right. For calm June, I should just keep exposing myself to my fears.
Yeah, I mean, what I would do now, because this was maybe 15 years ago, I was doing that kind of stuff. I would say is that there's the opportunity for that stuff to be much broader and not just about spiders. So, being able to change your relationship with your thoughts and feelings is a generally good thing.
Oh no!
That mindfulness idea of
I
being
should do
able
it to just
observe your
improve
thoughts and
myself
feelings.
and be aware of my own thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
I don't want that. That sounds like a big project. That sounds like a lot.
No, what I'm saying is, if you just do it about spiders, it will generalize.
Are you saying I'll naturally just start doing it about everything else?
Yeah, like the thing we know about learning is that learning generalizes. So if you learn something in one context, then you can generalize it to another context much more easily than if you just try to tackle everything at once.
Yeah,
if you
I
can
understand.
be with your feelings about spiders, then you can be with your feelings about, I don't know. I mean, it must be interesting being someone who's a performer and stand-up, because when you speak to people, when you do these polls about what people find most frightening, stand-up comedy is the number one thing. Spiders is often number two, but stand-up is often like
Really?
people's
Maybe
greatest
because
fear.
I've accomplished number one. Why do so many? That's so weird, right? Because spiders, everyone experiences spiders. They come into your house and they go on your walls. Stand-up comedy doesn't happen to anyone unless they choose it.
Public speaking, like being standing up in front of a group where all eyes are on you, where kind of you're the central focus of a room.
Yeah, that can be unavoidable. Yeah.
Kind of doing that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I still get like nervous. I don't really get nervous for a stream, but I definitely get nervous for going onto a stage, although much less than I used to. I more get nervous about the idea that I'll find out what I had planned and worked on sucks. But it's different from stage fright, which I think is just the visceral fear of going on the stage. This is more just a feel of just a worry about failing at something I've tried very hard on.
Yeah, sure. There's not a big separation between excitement and fear, like physiologically anyway. I mean, obviously cognitively there is, but I once worked with somebody who was a performer, and they weren't a stand-up, but they did something else that involved getting on stage in front of people and doing a thing, and genuinely they were really anxious in other aspects of their life that weren't about getting on stage, but they would describe all the symptoms of what it was like, all the feelings of what it was like when they were just about to go on stage, and they were like, oh, it's amazing, like, you know, you're really excited, your heart's going, you know, your heart's pounding, you're ready to go on, and it's all the same things that the person experienced, and they felt really anxious and felt like it was the worst feeling in the world. Physiologically, they were really, really similar. I'm not saying anything particularly deep here. I know lots of people have made that connection before, but it's like a lot of it's to do with the context in which these things sit. And I suppose what therapy does is it tries to affect the context. And you're a kind of participant in that, in changing that context. So you're kind of changing the context in which your fear of spiders sits. So rather than it being a thing that's happening that you avoid, what you're trying to do is change it into a thing that you're in some way seeking the fear, but you're wanting to be able to approach spiders.
So you're saying I have to get excited?
No. But what I'm saying is that the feeling of excitement can be very similar to the feeling of fear.
Oh yeah.
It's just about that switch, that kind of.
This is kind of like connected to the kink stuff as well. That's a lot of the
Full
big
circle.
thing with kink. Like the big thing with kink is that like they get excited from the fear of it, the pain of it or whatever. So
Mm.
And there's a lot of like connection between, like I said earlier, with trauma, like using kink as like a therapeutic way to process fears.
I think I understand what you're suggesting, Josie, but I'm not going to. I'm not
No.
That
is not what I'm suggesting.
I've got it loud and clear, but I've picked up a third member of my party. What do you think we should call them? That could be to chat. That could be to you guys. Just want a name suggestion.
Look a bit Mimbari.
Mimbari?
Babylon 5. Yeah.
Oh, I don't really know Babylon 5, but every more vision, I think. I should learn a little bit.
I bet Jack knows about it.
I think these guys have some kind of insectoid vibe. They talk about people living in nests, and they've got some kind of insectness about them. Also, could we change the... Ruka's a unique character, don't rename. Okay. Ruka's very useful, because you don't need to pay her for her to join. You just need to show her some respect. Right. Cup, Ball, and Ruka. The best buddies. Alright,
It's kind of
please,
isn't it?
please head back into whatever you were talking about. I'm going to take these three into the wilderness, and I don't know. I just don't even really know what I'm supposed to do in this game. Wait till you see her skills. Okay. Let me try and see her skills. Ruka. Skills. Are these good? Let's compare them to me. Oh! I'm ones across the board, apart from labouring, because I keep getting a lot of copper. Whereas this person's actually very good at quite a few things. This is a competent warrior. Great. Maybe I can hold my own in the fight. Let's go find a spider.
I'm pretty sure that there was a lot of VR stuff developed to kind of help spider phobia. There must be games in Steam that are specifically designed for like spider phobics.
I know of a game that has an arachnophobia mode, but it scares me more than not having it on.
It's not the game that Mono tricked you into playing, is it?
No, that just did my head in. But Mono, I wouldn't add that. I'd have re-add that block term, I think. Yeah, satisfactory is what I was thinking of. Oh, sorry. I thought you had. I thought you had whitelisted the term, and that's. Never mind. I read it the exact opposite way. Satisfactory's arachnophobia mode I find worse than having it on. Something about knowing there's a spider there, because what Satisfactory does with the spider mode is, do you know what? Because I was thinking about streaming Satisfactory, but now I can justify it via Spider Hour. because Satisfactory is the only game I've properly played that has an enemy in it that really sets off my arachnophobia. To the point where I just don't go in those areas. All the resources that you get in caves, I just have to try and work out how to not need them in the game.
Spleeny Dotson, it's not aversion therapy, it's exposure therapy. So aversion therapy is, at best, ethically dubious, and at worst, kind of torture. So aversion therapy is when you deliberately kind of punish someone in order to make them not like something. Which is not something I would do or condone.
Oh wow!
There's been a big thing about it recently because the
what do people use that, like smoking or something? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like the classic thing of like your dad making you smoke an entire packet, so that you're sick. So you have so if you've got a food allergy, not a food allergy, sorry, a food aversion, and because you ate that thing and you got sick from it, then that's kind of the process that's happened there. It's essentially sort of the same process by which some people would view phobias as happening. So like for you, it sounds like that's quite straightforward. Like a big spider landed on your face, and you felt afraid, and you moved away from the spider, and then
I
you felt
felt
less
betrayed.
afraid. So like, well, it's like it's anything that happens that makes it a behavior more likely to happen in the future is reinforcing. So the behavior of moving away from a spider, if you feel less afraid, then it's negative reinforcement. So you've been reinforced by moving away from spiders, a lot. But the thing with that is that it very quickly widens out, because you can see a spider from a distance and leave that room and feel relief, and therefore that behavior is reinforced. So it can kind of spiral out of control. That you can. It even gets to the point where you imagine a spider, and then you do something to try and avoid imagining the spider, and you get relief, and you've just reinforced that thing that you did.
Oh
And
yeah,
so people
and then
can get themselves into really odd situations where they've developed really complex behaviors to try and avoid stuff, and that can kind of take over your life.
I've definitely had it where, like, just if a spider is at times where it's bad, again, it fluctuates. And I think it fluctuates just based on my general. If I'm stressed, I just can't handle the additional stress of seeing something that I'm afraid of. But if I'm not, I've got extra resources to be like, don't worry about it, just grin and bear it. But then at times when I can't deal with it, I just have to leave rooms. Be like, well, the work I need to do is in that room, but I'm not going in it. Or my bed is in that room, and it is nighttime, and I want to go to bed. Oh well.
There's a big thing in acceptance commitment therapy about what's the best way to describe it? Like kind of like consent and workability. So like if somebody says like this works for me, they're kind of eyes open, completely consensually choosing to do that. Well, that's absolutely fine. If that's what works for you, then who is anyone else to tell you not to? As long as you understand the costs. So like if you're fully aware that like I'm leaving this room and that's the room in which I sleep, then there's quite a big cost, and it's up to you kind of to decide, is that a fair cost? Is that a cost I want to pay? Never being able to
There are times where I
sleep in
don't
my own room
really feel
again.
like I have a choice, because obviously the thing you're describing can't be mounted and done at that time. It's too late. It's too late. I have to leave this room. Like, I'm not making a cost-benefit analysis. I'm like, I just have to leave this room.
The only thing I'm suggesting is that it's like there's a context there, and that you might be like, in some like it sounds like what you're saying is in some contexts, I will make the choice to do the thing even though I find it uncomfortable, and there's other times where I'm like, no, I'm not going to make that choice because the context is I've got these other stressors that are happening.
Yeah.
I wasn't just saying that like that's fine, but there is a choice point, and sometimes that choice point is wide and really easy to hit, and other times it's really narrow and it's really hard to hit. And there's things that you can do to help yourself to widen that kind of choice point so that it's easier to make the choices that you kind of want to make. And like, unfortunately, mindfulness is one of them, or at least the kind of third wave conceptualization of mindfulness. Anyway,
I don't know enough about mindfulness to. I honestly don't really know much about mindfulness at all, other than the broad.
Well, there's a whole load of stuff that's been scooped up into the mindfulness bucket, and not all of that stuff is helpful. So when ACT first got developed in the kind of early 90s, late 80s, they called it comprehensive distancing, and then they approached it from a really kind of Western scientific viewpoint. The whole idea was that it was about being able to get distance from your cognitive experience, and they realized after a few years that the things that they were describing were almost identical to the mindfulness practices of Buddhists from 2,000 years ago, and they didn't deliberately steal it, but they were like, this is really similar, and there's already a whole terminology built up around mindfulness, so let's start calling it mindfulness. And then
towards
the kind of mid 2000s, mindfulness started to really become this big thing and was talked about almost as a therapy in itself, not as one aspect of a kind of whole kind of system of thought and a whole therapy, but as a thing you just do and it fixes everything. And it started being done by lots of kind of self-help, self-care gurus, and it became linked to
it got brought up into
shakes
the
and juicing and
the wellness economy.
yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, the wellness economy stuff. But it's a bit late now. They've already made the choice to have hitched their wagon to the mindfulness. So
yeah, it's been captured.
So, but yeah, exactly. It used to be that it was a useful thing because you're like, oh, this bit's a bit like mindfulness. People would be like, oh, mindfulness. Yeah, I know what that is. Whereas now people are like, oh, it's like mindfulness, is it? Right. And then they switch off.
Yes.
So
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So this idea that in any situation where you have a kind of psychological experience, which is all situations at all times, you kind of have an element of there's an element of choice. There's a kind of you can choose to accept this aversive thing and do something with it, and not for the kind of not for the sake of it, not in any kind of puritanical I'm going to do this unpleasant thing because it's good to do unpleasant things. Like there has to be a reason. There's a big thing in ACT where you look at values. Like values have to be a core component of the therapy because you need to have a reason. Like there's no point in changing your behaviour unless it does something important. What is that thing that's attacking you?
It's called a beak thing.
Exactly, it's cool. Oh, it is.
But I thought 3 of us could handle it. I'm wrong.
It's good. I like it.
And it was mainly based on the idea that Ruka was really strong and had stats. Well, no. I should have known better. There's still a chance we could if we get.
Body.
Well, no, she's not dead, but her leg's broken, so she can't really participate in the fight so well.
Oh my god, it's the big thing called gutters. That's great.
Yeah, I think so. So Cup's down now, and I think that's. I think I've ruined it.
Oh dear. Just like the Queen over again.
I mean, don't remind me. That's how all this got started. And
Beaked
now,
in the head.
come next week, I won't be able to have sex without being covered in spiders. Thanks a lot. You've both done this. Oh, I did it! I did it! It's dead.
Hey.
And all it cost me was my chest, my right arm, my right leg, and my 2 friends. Well, can I patch you up? I'll just save. Just save here. I'll call that whoops. Heal Cup first. Good advice. So I think one of us has bandages. Yeah, there's one. Okay, so...
What sentence is Harry objecting to? Did I say something...
I think I know what it was. I think it was me talking about having sex.
I know what it was as well.
Spiders.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if it's... I mean, I can't say for sure, but that's a strong guess.
It was a completely normal sentence.
This has been a pretty good night hole. As night holes go, this is pretty top. Covered a very
How are you feeling
broad
with
range of
spiders?
topics. I'm fully convinced of the stuff. I can click the medic, but I see it. Okay. Ball. You have one job, and it's to kill Cup. Ball doesn't have a med kit, so Ball should take the med kit. Okay, so there's a med kit on the floor, and I'm gonna try and get Ball to pick it up. Ball, pick this up. What was that? Oh no. This is bad news. This is what I'd call bad news. I don't have a good feeling about this. I don't think there's anything I can... Well, maybe if I heal Cup, I should heal Ruka, I think.
They look like they run fast as well.
Cup is dying, so if I don't heal Cup, there won't be a Cup to heal. Do you know what? Maybe we don't know, right? It actually could be running past. It could be running to that tree, you know? We don't know yet. I think heal Cup.
You have to assume it's related to the corpse you're standing over.
Yeah, it just wants to mourn the corpse. Ball, leave it alone.
Too late.
Loot the beak thing before it gets back up. Oh, it's not dead. It's just unconscious, so it will get back up soon. Yeah, it hasn't even been like critically wounded. When it gets back up, it will. Oh no, hang on. No. It's been badly wounded in its chest. Ball was pretty fast, I remember. Yeah, Ball's pretty fast. Oh, that thing is really fast. That thing is incredibly fast. There's nothing else to do. We have to stand and fight. Cup's going to die. Ruka, are you able to go over there? Yeah, Ruka can kind of sidle on her broken leg. And then Ruka can heal Cup. Ball will run interference. Okay, so Ruka, can you heal Cup? Do you have... Yeah, Ruka has a first aid kit, so I'm going to get Ruka to heal Cup. And when Cup's healed, then Ruka can heal herself. Whoa! Ball, turn around. Turn around. Oh man, there's two of them. This is bad news. Ball, just go off and die. Ball, just go off and die. I'm just going to check back over here. Ruka, what are you up to? I think Ruka's healing Cup. Cup is dying, but Ruka's on the case. So let's get Ball to run laps around this. Oh, these guys though. Ball, just got a juke for days. It's back up. It's back. Cup. Cup. I don't think Cup's gonna make it.
Only seeing this on a slight delay from the stream, so it was, as soon as you said it's up, it was still down. Oh my god, what's happened to its body there?
Yeah, it does try to like. Oh, Ruka's been hit. Oh, Ruka's unconscious. Cup's gonna die. Oh, but Cup is no longer the first aid finish. Cup is no longer dying. Cup is now just unconscious and will be unconscious for about 3 minutes. Whereas Ruka's been unconscious for... What's that? 6 minutes? Come on, Ball. Ball. Juke. What is this? Okay, so there is a thing that has arrived that the beaks also want to fight. It's called a gorillo, and it is like a gorilla if it was also a little mole. So if I can get them all to fight that, maybe they won't fight me.
Oh my god.
That's my plan. Please just fight this thing instead. Okay, 2 of them are fighting the thing. Only 1 of them is fighting me.
Wow, they hate that thing.
Now, if all I need is for them all to kill each other, and none of them to kill me. So the one that's going for me, I'm just running to the other side of the gorillo and hoping all 3 of them can deal with it. Yes! Oh no, it's back on me. I'm just going to see how Cup and Ruka are getting on. Ruka's about to start dying. Cup, hard to tell. Could go either way. Ball. Okay, how's the gorillo doing? Ah, they're gonna kill it. Has it hurt them much? Yeah, it's done okay. You know, it could knock out Gutters again. The one we knocked out. The one we knocked out could get re-knocked out. Problem is the gorillo's aiming for the wrong guy. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This could be good news. No. It just did a little drive-by on him. The gorilla's going to go down. Yeah, the gorilla has been knocked out. Oh no, it's back! Okay, what? The most badly wounded beak thing has left. Just run away for some reason. And then the gorilla is back up fighting with one of them. The gorilla keeps thinking about fighting me. Here we go. This could be good. Oh no, it's... The gorilla's down again.
You find more gorillas.
Do you think that's the correct decision? Okay, the gorilla is still awake, I think. It's in a critical state, though. No, maybe critical just means it's like the state worse than unconscious. Let me check if Cup or Ball are conscious again. Cup will wake up in 100 seconds. Maybe I should heal the gorilla. That's a good use of my resources. Okay, so every 5 minutes imagine a spider and then watch a spider documentary. Imagine a spider, then watch a documentary about a spider, and then go near a real spider and then touch a spider.
So the initial key thing about this was to make the hierarchy. So you have to kind of draw up a kind of list of...
This is what I'm doing.
Is imagining... Cause it sounds like you've been imagining a spider a lot and it's not that bad.
I can imagine, like... There's lots of different imagining a spider. I can imagine a nice spider, and then I can imagine a horrible spider, and then I can imagine the worst spider in the world. I can make it uncomfortable for myself. Because I got to believe in my comfort zone, right? Otherwise, I'm not exposing myself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What about looking at a picture of a spider? Is that worse than imagining the terrible spider?
Depends on the spider, but yeah, in general. Oh, in fact, yeah. There'll be pictures that are worse than any imagination, and there'll be imagination that's worse than most pictures. Because I can imagine the worst spider in the world that couldn't possibly exist.
This is the problem with trying to do therapy with somebody who knows philosophy.
I'm not doing philosophy. I'm saying that some pictures will be better than, even though pictures are more real because they're like an external image that you're not in control of. Most pictures won't be as bad as the worst things in my imagination. That's not philosophy, I don't think.
It's interesting that you think that you're in control of your imagination.
I'm more in control of it than I am of a picture.
Really? Can't you just close your eyes and you can't see the picture anymore?
Well, then I'm not looking at the picture. I can't control what's on the picture. Oh, balls
you can't
being
control
eaten.
your thoughts either. Oh dear.
I can control my thoughts quite a lot, thank you. I'm going to imagine an apple. Hang on. While balls being eaten, I want to imagine an apple, and now I'm going to imagine a kangaroo picking up the apple. Okay, kangaroo's got the apple now, and now the kangaroo.
Is it with its hand or mouth?
It's picked it up with its hand.
Okay.
And probably, in reality, kangaroo couldn't pick up an apple one-handed. But I've made it happen because I can control my own imagination. Tell me what to... Well, no, if you tell me what to imagine, it doesn't make the case that I'm in control. Just wanted to prove I could imagine anything.
The problem with thoughts in general is that in order to have the thought, I'm not going to think about the thing, you have to have the thought, I'm not going to think about the thing, which includes the thing. So it's impossible to not think about a thing because the construction of that involves the thing.
But the whole idea
like
is
the
that
white-
I'm
the
not
white bear
thinking
thing.
about a thing. This is therapy that's supposed to expose me to the things I fear of. So I'm supposed to think of the thing that scares me, which normally is the problem. In every other situation, just voluntarily summoning up a thought that distresses you.
Oh yeah. This is kind of adjacent.
Friends, come quick. The horse has arrived.
Sorry, the horse is here.
Hark, the horse.
And now it's time for the
What if we had a spider's reaction?
It's me,
That would do
the
it.
horse.
would it be
Hello,
easier?
Sean. It's me, the spider.
No! I don't like it because it's got the same voice as the horse. Yeah, I did think about a horse. Obviously, I'm aware of don't think about a horse is an impossible thing for a brain. But we're not talking about don't think about a horse. We're talking about do think about a spider. And in that sense, I do have control of my own thoughts because I can decide to do that.
I suppose what I'm saying is that if you could give up the idea that you are in control of your thoughts and your feelings, then you can focus on things that are more important than thoughts and feelings.
I'm not saying I got full control. I'm just saying that the things that happen in my head are not just these random things I've got no influence over. I can opt into thinking about something.
Absolutely. So there's a thing that so acceptance and commitment therapy comes from it's a behavior therapy, so it comes originally from behaviorism, and behaviorism used to talk about prediction and control. Like that was what the idea was, to predict and control. And acceptance and commitment therapy changed that to prediction and influence because people did not like the word control. The idea that that was the goal of a therapy completely put people off. So they had to change it to the goal is to predict and influence behavior. But the behavior is everything. Your thoughts and feelings and your dreams and your hopes are all behavior. It's in anything you do.
I don't even need to listen to the audio. I could just get the roundabout song in my head.
Just happens. Perfect conditioning. That's influence and control.
Yeah.
Have you seen the film Arachnophobia?
No, obviously not. Why would I watch that? Obviously not.
Well, it might have been. I think it came out before you had your incident with the spider landing in your face.
Yeah, but
the pre-times when you loved spiders.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't watching films in the cinema at that point because I was a little child. I think I was allowed to watch Arachnophobia.
Well, so the point of a horror film is to be afraid, right?
Well, any horror film that's effectively made me afraid has made me more afraid of the subject matter.
But that's consenting to be afraid as well, isn't it?
Yeah, but I was never afraid of the little girl from The Ring before I watched The Ring, and afterwards I was afraid. It was before. I didn't even have an idea. People can come out of wells all they want. It didn't bother me. And now, I don't like thinking about it as much. I think it has the opposite effect.
I'm doing a master's at the minute, and subject of my dissertation is about a thing called cognitive diffusion, which is the opposite of cognitive fusion. So what you're talking about there, where you're watching a horror film or whatever, and you're so completely in it that you are afraid of what's happening, is cognitive fusion. Like you fuse with the thoughts about that to the extent where you see them as reality. Mm-hmm. So you have a real visceral reaction to something that is a construct of your mind. It's all fear to a certain extent, but it's interesting that you're talking about going to the cinema and then coming out with new fears, because I'm like, and the fact that you've done that more than once.
But that's how it works, isn't it? You see something scary and then you're scared of the thing.
When I was like too young, like probably 14, I used to watch the Nightmare on Elm Street films.
Ball has been eaten alive.
I wasn't really afraid of them. Like I was aware that this was a horror film, so I was supposed to be afraid. But I wasn't coming out of it going, I'm now afraid of Freddy Krueger. Like, it didn't give me a phobia. Like I was in the film when the things happened and there was a jump scare, I would jump. But I wasn't having nightmares about it, and like the next day, I wouldn't suddenly be like, Freddy Krueger.
I mean, I guess I've got a similar sort of thing where I don't really. I've the only manga I've ever read is Junji Ito, and he has like a lot of his manga have like themes of stolen identity, of like a creature, a spirit coming to steal your identity, and it's in that creature is you now. Nobody knows who you are anymore. And I got like nightmares about that for a very long time. Yeah, like changing stuff. Yeah, I got nightmares about that for quite a while after reading, and that's just from reading, let alone some movement images like films and stuff. It's the psychological aspect of it, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose there's a difference in being afraid of something and having a phobia of something. I mean, obviously, technically, they're the same thing, but like, I'm afraid of being knocked over by a bus, but I haven't got a phobia of buses.
Yes, I guess one's like phobia is supposed to be more about like it being consuming, isn't it? It's more affecting your regular daily life compared with just a general anxiety about something that you sometimes think about.
Yeah, and I always hate it when people talk about like depression and anxiety, because like depression is like a thing that you don't necessarily want to have. But whereas anxiety is a natural part of life. There's like an anxiety disorder. I know like people try to avoid saying the word disorder usually, but anxiety is a thing that you aren't going to get rid of. Like ultimately, you would want to get rid of depression. You don't want to have depression, but you can't get rid of anxiety because fear is a part of life, and being anxious at times is a part of life. So, like if I was about to step into the road in front of a bus, and I caught the bus into the corner of my eye, and I had this kind of wave of anxiety, that's really useful. It's really good. And like if somebody had somehow managed to take away anxiety for me, I'd be dead then. So I suppose it's like, at what point does it become not acceptable? Because I don't like appealing to any kind of external thing where, psychiatry or something gets to say, once you hit this point, you are disordered. I think it's up to individuals to decide, well, this is a level of anxiety that I'm willing to live with, whether it justifies what I get out of it, and this is a level of anxiety that I don't think is justified by what I get from it, and I'm going to do something about it. And it has to be down to individuals deciding, I don't want to have this anymore. I want to do something about it. And that's why I was talking earlier on the values thing. So like, I don't want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go for a walk in the rain. But if a friend rang me at 4 o'clock in the morning while it was raining and said, I'm really scared, will you come and meet me? Then I will get up and I'll go out and I'll do that because there's a value there. There's something that's bigger than my own discomfort, my own psychological experience that I'm willing to do. And it feels like a different thing. Like if you're out at 4 a.m. in the morning, you're caught in the rain, and you're like, oh, this is awful, I don't want to be here. That feels very different than I'm in the rain going to meet my friend because, they wanted, they're uncomfortable and I want to go and help them. It feels like a different thing, even though psychological experiences might be very similar. There's something that's different, and the only real difference is that there's a purpose, there's a value there.
That sounds right to me. I think with it hitting 11 o'clock, I think it might be time to bring our conversation to a close. This has been a very good one. I've enjoyed the mixture of learning about act therapy and kink.
After talking about the Queen's death.
Exactly, and then watching Cup and Ball being eaten alive by these beaked things. What a lovely mixture of experiences and sights and sounds. I'm going on a big walk with some of the gang tomorrow.
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous.
Oh, yeah, brilliant.
There'll be other ones. Well, I definitely hope there'll be other ones. I think it'll
I
be
hope this one's
success
closer
and
to
we'll make
me.
more. I think we can make more and make them. I think we can specifically plan them around people being able to make stuff. Thank you all for watching. Can we please get some J's and O's in the chat for Jonesy Russell and Oracle of Time for sharing their expertise with us. And of course, most importantly, please can I get T's, Q's, OTRs for The Queen Fell Off the Roof, please. And of course, what better way to play us out than just to show a little bit of respect to the goddamn Queen. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to our guests. I'm going to bed. Remember, the Queen did everything she could. She never, ever should have been allowed on that goddamn roof.
It was part of the fun.
And a crow got in her eye.
And a crow went in her eye. I'm pro-life.
Fear of crows.
I'm pro-life, and it brings me no pleasure to report this. But Her Majesty the Queen has fallen off the roof. Good night, everyone. Stay safe. Stay sweet. And go to bed.